Excellent. Welcome to the Templeton Advisory Committee meeting and pre-town meeting, April 19th, 2023, here at 6 o'clock. Templeton Advisory Committee regular business meeting is being broadcast live on TCTV Channel 8 and the TCTV YouTube channel. Responses will be made to comments in the TCTV YouTube channel as time permits. The agenda and the meeting material for this business meeting and pre-town meeting were posted to My Town Government no later than 48 hours prior to the scheduled meeting in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Open Meeting Law. The chair reserves the right to add items or to remove items or to change the order of the agenda. However, the agenda is posted in advance to give the committee and public time to review the agenda items and to ensure the meeting runs within an allotted time frame. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order here at 6 o'clock. I do have a quorum. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll do just a quick introduction for everybody who doesn't know anybody. I'm John Caplis. I am the chairman.
Nowell Francis, I'm the co-chairman.
Mike Euvrard, I'm the clerk.
And Matthew Rivard, I am just a member.
Well, not just, I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
You're more than just a member.
Yeah, I know that, but I don't have special titles.
All right, excellent. We need to talk about real quick the meeting minutes for March 15th, 2023.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I'd like to make a motion to accept the meeting minutes for March 15th, 2023 as presented.
I have a motion of a second.
Second.
I have a motion second. Any other discussion? I see none. Mike? Yes, no,
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
Mr. Chair,
Mhm.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from March 18th, 2023 as presented.
I have a motion of a second. Second. I have a second, right, Mike? Thank you. Any other discussion? I see none. Mike? Yes, no,
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
And Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I would like to make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from March 29th, 2023 as presented.
I have a motion of a second.
Second.
I have a second. Thank you, by Mr. Francis. Any
Um,
discussion? Yes.
One quick item, Ms. Nally, you sent out revised minutes for that meeting this morning. Can you please real briefly let's just mention what the issue was on that you had, you noticed, you said there was an error you had to make a change on.
Yeah, it was, I just stated, motion was made for the previous meeting minutes, but I did not say who made the
Ah,
motion.
Okay,
So I just added your name.
Okay.
I rewatched the video.
very good.
Excellent.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for that. Any other discussion? I see none. Mike? Yes. No,
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you for catching that, Jackie. I appreciate it.
catch, Jackie.
You know.
Don't start already. All right, so any public comments at this time?
It's early, Bob.
Any public comments? I can't read the screen, so if there's any public comments that come up on the YouTube, you just let me know.
There's
please.
nothing there.
Thank you.
Just saying, it was just saying that Mr. Curtis enjoyed.
Exactly.
All right, no public comments. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to enter the pre-town meeting.
So moved.
Have a second. Any other discussion? I see none. Mike? Yes. No?
Yes.
Matt?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll go down the line a little bit, so we all get an opportunity to read a little bit, okay? Hey. Yes.
Just a point of clarification before we begin. Do you want the motion before we start discussion on the articles, or do you okay with and then making the motion once we're done with it?
I'm gonna discuss everything and then I'm gonna follow the Robert's rules and I'm gonna, once we're done discussing. Article.
Oh, so we're gonna do all the voting at the end.
Yes,
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to.
Yep.
I wanted to ask the question. Thank you.
Yep.
In that case,
so it makes it a little bit easier. So I'm gonna start with here with Payment of late bills. Yes,
So a question on Article 1. In the hot seat to either answer the questions directly or deflect to one of the many illustrious people who are. Yeah, go ahead.
all right, thank you.
Good.
I saw that somewhere. Article 1, payment of late bills, to see if the town will vote to authorize the payment of late bills the following departments in the following amounts. Senior Service Department of $249.99 and insurance and appropriation or transfer by some certified free cash or take other action there too. Submitted by the Board of Selectmen. 4/5 required.
And by the way, if you want, you and I can split that up so that you save your voice. This way you don't lose your voice. But
Okay, now I ask you questions.
okay. So these are late bills from fiscal year 2022, which today is April 19th, 2023, and we're getting close to closing fiscal year 2023. What happened? Why are these just coming up now?
So
And ignore Siri.
these came to my attention and yeah, I was just as frustrated as you were. I have the department head looking into why the $249.99 did not get processed, because it was for essentially these water bottles over at the senior center, and somehow it didn't get processed. We have to pay it.
Right.
It's too bad that happened. And the other one was another bill that came in after the fact because the employee.
And the reason that I asked this too is that not only is it now April, 10 months later that we're paying these, but we missed a town meeting the fall special. And so, I mean, my biggest question here is, I mean, I'm not saying, no, we shouldn't pay them. Obviously we should. This does not happen again. Okay. And we should.
Listed on the encumbrance form. The accountant did their part to remind, if you have you bought something, you bought a service, you went paid for something, but you haven't got the invoice yet.
Right.
You know it's going. You're keeping good records, you should know how much it is. So you let the account know when they take money out of your budget and they set it aside. This article is doing is using free cash to support the budget, which goes against the financial management policies.
Mhm.
You're increasing the budget of fiscal 22 by $500, but you're still doing it.
Right.
And how departments are just for the last 5 years.
Okay.
So there's a mechanism in place. The accountant has done their job. A reminder to department heads. The department heads apparently aren't paying attention. Where's the accountability? What is the remedy? Because again, this is affecting the budget being paid for with free cash.
Right.
So the budget has increased over what town meeting approved or what was presented to them.
I got you. Thanks, Jeff.
So it's an important issue.
Mhm.
I mean, the bill, you gotta pay your bill.
Right.
But, and again, another fiscal year is almost passed. This is
Unacceptable.
sloppy management.
Oh, if I could jump in here, Mr.
Yeah, go
Chair,
ahead.
for a second. In fairness, they weren't aware of the bill. I want to make frustrated as a financial manager for the town, see these bills come in, and we've been pretty good with late bills for a while. So I want to granted, and another thing was a matter where somebody didn't know a benefit was offered until after the fact. Fair management?
No, I get what you're saying.
No, that's, and
It could go both ways, the argument.
Right.
do you, and I hate to ask this. Tell me after November.
It was after.
I think it was.
It was after the fall town meeting.
It was after the warrant was approved. Sure. Do you remember when we got there?
Okay, so it was significantly after. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
We definitely need to keep our. All right, so let's go on. What's any other thing with Article 1? Any other questions, comments?
Article 2, fiscal year 2023 operating budget amendments. To see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $205,000 budget as follows. Insurance and benefits, $52,500 for increased enrollment. Emergency management, $2,000. $150,000 for the FY 2023 deficit. And to meet said appropriation by a transfer of said sum from certified free cash or to take any other action related thereunto. Submitted by the select board, and a majority vote is required on this article.
Hey, anybody have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I can't be.
Um,
Mr. Chair,
so
I can.
Go ahead.
On this. So I spoke with Rich Curtis before the meeting
Mhm.
and we were talking about the emergency management. And after the select board approved the warrant, because we would have to expend this by the end of the fiscal year.
Yep.
Because we received. And then the town's share would be a $2,500 commitment.
Right.
So as you know, we need to go out to vendors. The whole procurement process, and by the time we get the approval for once we get that all done, we believe there'll be that, and we're going to put it in with the special articles. Just so you're aware. So the motion we're going to be looking at is 202,500.
And you're gonna
Correct.
amend
Correct.
that.
After I spoke with Rich Curtis, we
Okay,
felt that
so-
was the best way to go because we don't want to lose the potential grant on not getting our municipal match.
1,500
Correct.
is going to move to the special articles, which is Article 25.
And they're both coming out of free cash, so it won't change.
So the financial won't change. It's all coming out of the same kitty at the end of the day. It's going to the special articles so that it can cross over to the next fiscal year.
Correct, and I'm not sure, Mr. Chair, if Rich Curtis has anything further to say on that.
I don't know.
And I am working on a method where even though we're putting this $2,500 aside, this cost-free, utilizing payroll from those department heads that have to attend the meetings to go through this process. So hopefully it won't cost the town anything, but $2,500 is our share, and if we need it, we need to have it available.
Okay, great. Excellent. Great job.
All
I
right.
didn't mean to interject, but I just.
No. That's a good clarification. Thank you.
Do you have anything?
Yes, I do. So now my next question, or my question is, the insurance and benefits, you have increased enrollment of $52,500. Was this accounted for in the FY 2024 budget? Because obviously, if you have increased enrollment this year, it is to be expected that this is going to carry over into next year. Was this accounted for in the 2024?
So the answer is we budgeted to add a full time. But you can't, we also got to take into consideration the fact, and this happened where somebody that works for the town, they're getting their insurance through a spouse, for example. I'm going to be proud of this because the town has been great with health insurance.
Mhm.
I mean, if you look at our numbers,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're less than 2% of our. So for the most
Yeah.
part, because when you offer such a great health plan
Mhm.
and the rates are not going up
Mhm.
and more people are jumping onto
Yep.
it. Unfortunately, the impact is
Mhm.
you got to pay your insurance and benefits.
Understood.
But at the same time, we've saved money in the long run because, like this fiscal year coming up, we're only going up 1.5%.
Okay.
So, yep, I mean, the flip
Did you
side of that is more people might jump
Yeah.
on.
So
Did
the
you
question-
plan for this increase though
In 20?
in 2024? Is this money budgeted for in 2024? Because you're increasing 23.
Correct, and in that one as well has for two folks.
Okay.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right. And the other item on this is the snow and ice, $150,000. I can tell the room the answer to that question. No, that is not budgeted for in 2023 or the 2024. what did you go up? You went up marginally. I know that because you have to.
About 32,000.
No, it was originally gonna be that.
Well, it was originally proposed.
that got
for
pulled.
Number, but what happened was to come.
School.
With the school, we had to.
Yeah.
I know.
So
we suffer.
So the point that I'm gonna make here is that if we have another winter like this one, we're gonna be in the same boat in 12 months.
Yep.
And I know you, Mr. Lamontagne, had a plan to basically increase snow and ice over the course of 3 years by X amount of dollars in order to get us at least closer to what an average winter looks like. Now, I know this had to be into that and holding it starting with FY 2025. Okay? Because we cannot continue. I know that we closer to what the average winter looks like, and the average winter around here is not $148,000 and change, which is what we normally have. That was a very light snow year. We were lucky that particular year. We can't count on being lucky every year. We just can't.
Bob and I talk about it all the time. I mean, it's the price of salt. I mean, did you want to have elaborate? You handled that budget. and you know-
We need, like Matt saying, I talked to Noah, come up with a plan. I figured about 225, 230.
Right.
And Noah was right next to me on that. And because you don't want to over budget where you can't use your deficit.
Right.
So I think 225 is going to be a comfortable spot for the town.
Right, but the issue now is how do we get there from
Right.
here?
Now we got to get there.
So right now, we're on average, what, 240, 148, 150?
Well, that's what's on we're budgeting 149 and change or
Right.
something like that. Yeah.
Everything's just escalating.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't-
steel,
Upwards of 75,000.
And like I said, we have to deficit spend because we lose the ability to deficit. Don't on occasion,
That's right.
so I mean, we can't lose that ability specifically for like this year,
Yeah, you
where we
can't-
had a late storm and it was a heavy one and was
So you-
very labor intensive and the whole 9 yards. It was an
It's
expensive
snowed
storm.
now. It
Yeah.
snowed on May. It's a chance you take.
2 years ago, it snowed on Mother's Day,
Right.
as frightening as that was.
Of Public Works. They've done a fabulous job, I thought, clearing our roadways and keeping up, even though you're short-staffed. I think they've done a phenomenal. We all want to go.
Mhm.
And I'm hopeful in the future we could get there, just coming up with that plan. That's why I sent that information over. And going over our revenues.
Hmm.
And I brought specifically the advisory committee into that
Yep.
because you make the recommendations at town meeting.
Right.
You should be a part of the process with me as well as the select board when we're coming. It's important, but the objective is to plan now for 3 years out.
Mhm.
And that's, I think, the UGGA and the excise and how, and that's why I went back to 2007 to where we are today. Essentially believe we're heading, and then we could tackle things like this.
Right.
But it's all part of that plan, and again, is the challenge. How do we do it? Under Proposition 2.5, how do we do it without going for an override? I think since I've been and that's because of sound budget practicing. Yes, that there's times where the town's in a comfortable financial position because of the town where we have $1.5 million in our OpEx stabilization. We have free cash getting certified, roughly a free cash certification. So we're in a good predicament, okay? But how do we get there and plan long-term? I think that's a solution we all need to work on.
Survivability of the town.
Mhm.
I mean, and you have to follow the policies.
Yeah.
I mean, plain and simple.
They're there
Why
for a
do we
reason.
have policies if we're not gonna follow them? So follow the policy. Reactor, because that's what the town's been doing for, generations now. So it needs to be more proactive. And I think with the folks on the advisory committee today, I think we're pushing forward a lot of different recommendations to the select boards. They'll take hinder to some of those. Any other questions for Snow and Ice? Yes, Mr. Bennett.
on the budget, using one-time money to back up the budget.
Mhm.
In November 2nd. Cash, they increased the budget. We started out with $9,945,000 for fiscal. $961,000. Then we used the 75,000. So the budget is now $10,036,645. And this article, well, you're moving it over to special articles, but it's still, general fund is generally another 200,000.
Yep.
So that's 275,000 that we've increased the budget on the back of free cash. And we're doing this year in and year out.
Right.
But then, and that was hence to my question to Mr.
So-
Lamontagne, have we planned for the insurance and benefits in 2024? Because I don't want to be doing this again if we don't have to be.
My point is, this indicates that we have a structural deficit problem because we continually have to use free cash to back up the budget.
That's what you said.
And again,
We're not reflecting a true
against the
budget.
advice of the Department of Revenue's 2021 financial review of the town. It goes against what the financial management policy says, and snow and ice deficit. It's in the budget book. There's a record of 5 years. 2019 was a $10,000 deficit, followed by 120,000, 92,000, 120, 150,000. We know it's
Mhm.
not unexpected, it's not unanticipated.
Right.
And it's not an emergency.
Yeah.
It's gonna snow, it's New England, it can be freezing rain, it can be sleet. End of the year, big storm.
Right.
So it's not unexpected. We need to budget for it and plan for it. Because again, we're using free cash to support the general fund budget, which to me indicates we have a structural deficit issue that goes back to, and it was pointed out in 2014, but it's, and we're not gonna get rid of it unless we make some hard choices.
Right.
If I could jump in for a
Yeah,
second
go ahead.
there.
Mr. Lamontagne.
I mean, most communities in Massachusetts, deficit spend.
We know.
It's a common practice.
Mhm.
Quite frankly, I don't know of many communities that cover their whole snow and ice through their budget. It's not, when you speak of a structural deficit,
And-
I mean, I think that's a little bit of a stretch. Because this happens in a vast majority of communities in Massachusetts.
And-
It's simple. I mean,
And we understand that it happens in a vast majority of communities in Massachusetts. However, in order to reflect a truly balanced or a true budget, that number needs to be closer. We
Well-
can't continually deficit spend at $150,000 a year and say that we are presenting a true budget every town meeting. We just need to get that number closer. I'm not saying we don't deficit spend, because again,
no,
if we don't, then we lose the ability to, and if we have a bad year, we need it, but.
I think Vice Chair Curry said it best at the select board meeting, the operations of government have to continue.
Mhm.
You can't stop government because of, you have increased enrollment that was not expected
Mhm.
in a budget year. You have to provide benefits to your employees.
Right.
Most communities will deficit spend for snow and ice,
I got you.
but I mean, I'm not gonna keep going over and over.
No. I got it.
Point's made. My point is made. That's what I was trying to say.
Free cash is not necessarily free.
I- Thanks, Mike.
It's
Any other questions?
It's exactly true.
Article 2,
Excuse me,
It comes from somewhere.
we do have a question in the chat.
What's the
Bob
question?
May asks, Adam, how does this affect Article 22?
I think I asked that question already, is did you plan for the insurance and benefits in FY 2024? You said yes, that is planned for in the operating budget for, that's
That's a question.
FY 2022. Yeah, Article 22 is the operating budget for next year.
Yeah.
You've already, so you already answered those questions. The insurance and benefits, the answer was yes. And snow and ice, we know the answer is no.
Well, and we
there's a reason.
budgeted for 2 more people to jump.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Hey, any other questions? With Article 2?
Mhm.
Okay, moving on to Article 3, snow and ice deficit. To see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $70,000 and no cents or any lower sum from the Operation OpEx Stabilization Fund to close the FY 2023 deficit for the snow and ice removal, or take any other action there too. So we have a select board 2/3 vote required. Okay,
The only point that I'm gonna make about this one is going back to the financial management policy.
yes,
Again, this is. Technically, it's a no-no, I believe. We shouldn't be doing it unless,
It's
we
not-
shouldn't be doing, it's not a no-no, but it's frowned upon as much as possible. We should be putting money into that account as much as possible. Go ahead, Jeff.
The policy states that you will not use that money except in an emergency or an extraordinary event. And again, we have financial history that shows.
This is not an emergency nor an extraordinary event.
Sitting enough for snow and ice, so it's not truly an emergency.
And the other,
That you really don't want to go down.
Right.
May 2010, the town took 100 and something thousand out of general stabilization to cover the cost of Worcester Regional Retirement Fund. When you're taking stabilization money to cover an operating cost,
Mhm.
that's bad.
yeah, and the other
That's
question,
a path I don't think the town wants to go down again.
so my question would be, where would that $70,000, where would that come from if it doesn't come from?
Well, yeah, I didn't get to speak on this yet, because Mr. Bennett wanted to jump in.
That's-
So, on this, we have this as a placeholder. Simple. You know, we're gonna look at the budget as we get closer to town meeting, and if it's not on the warrant, then obviously we can't. But I wanted to have it on the warrant. Now,
so you're saying you may not necessarily need it.
that's why I wanted to get closer to the end of the fiscal year and see what's left in the other budgets of what we could transfer. But let's say, worst case scenario is we have to do this, right? Well, $70,000. Remember, there was a state of emergency declared by the chair of the select.
That was gonna be my next question, is
So,
that,
I
is
mean, you could
is that
say it's not
gonna
an
have we-
emergency, but when the town announces a state of emergency and the chair declares one,
Mhm.
I consider that an emergency.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but that's how we always have free cash, 150,000 dedicated for snow and ice deficit. At least since I've been here, and quite frankly, if we have to use this, we have to use it. And you know what? We have $1.5 million. Not a lot of towns have that, so.
I understand that, but
We're in a good predicament.
yeah, this is a situation where, I mean. I hope we don't have to use this. I hope that when Article 3 gets to the floor at town meeting, that we can just skip it. Table it, take no action. But again, this is a slippery slope that we don't want to go down. I really don't think we want to use this if we absolutely do not have to. So I know you have it there as a placeholder, so that if you absolutely have to, you need it. I know you're gonna look at the budget and see if you can get that taken care of within the operating budget. As we get closer to town meeting, as we get closer to the end of the fiscal year, we do have little over a quarter to go, so I understand you're kind of in a holding pattern on that one, but like I said, I really hope that we get to May 10th and we get to Article 3 and we have a motion to table Article 3. We don't need it.
But
Hopefully, we do not need it.
Well, also, I want to say, since I've been here, we put so much into the OPEX stabilization, we haven't used it once.
Understood.
Yeah.
Yes,
Just for clarification, can you explain the difference between the snow and ice deficit in Article 2 and the one in number 3?
it's the snow and ice deficit is both. It's the 150 plus the 70, so it's all combined.
It's a big deficit this year,
Yeah.
and a lot of it was that final storm that we had that was brutal.
We're right now at $210,060.
See,
Right,
And I do agree, though, that just because we've always done it this way doesn't
Right.
make it right.
right. No,
Exactly.
You're absolutely right.
no, you're absolutely right. I
Well,
100% agreed.
If I could jump in for a second here. So the senior center roof wouldn't have been done unless we dipped into our capital stabilization.
Right.
So you know, but when the roof's leaking,
It's an
That's a
emergency.
different story.
so I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
these things, there was a state of emergency that was declared.
That storm would not have been a state of emergency had it not been a snowstorm at 33 and 34 degrees. Had not all those limbs come down, had we not lost power, had not damage come across the road.
Mhm.
If we had gotten 2 feet of fluffy puffy snow,
Would have been fine,
Bob still would have had to plow.
Right.
He still would have had his salt and sand,
but he wouldn't have
he
had
still
nearly the
would have-
damage he would have. that
but
he
it
had to
wouldn't
take
have been
care
a state of emergency.
You're probably right.
So it's almost like the state of emergency wasn't the snow, it was the damage created by the snow.
Right. I got
Exactly.
you.
We would have had to move it anyway,
Right.
of. Very much so.
had it not taken down limbs and
Correct.
power lines.
No, you're right.
But I want to know, we haven't used the one since I've been
No,
here.
And
Totally agree.
With regards to the state of emergency, Adam, is there any chance that we get anything reimbursed back from the state on that one?
That, I believe
No.
Rich Curtis is working on that
Uh,
through the chair. If you
me
want
and
to-
Rich worked on the report and submitted it, Rich, and they declined it, correct?
They declined. Worcester County did not meet the thresholds for damages for that storm, so there won't be any reimbursements from that storm. But
Okay,
just keep in mind that a state of emergency is called when there's an emergency that a department, when it exceeds that department's ability to handle it. So there could have been, it was mentioned that there wouldn't, if it was fluffy snow, there wouldn't have been an emergency. Well, that's not necessarily true. Anytime that
It would have been.
Bob and his crew can't keep the roads clear, that impedes fire, police, and ambulance responses. And that necessitates an emergency. So there could have been, regardless, with that much snow.
Yeah, because I think the factors, play in with staff, the 80 square miles of road miles that you gotta plow. So if you only have 5 plow guys with that, with all the OSHA requirements that you guys have to follow now too, with
Well,
the 14 hours of plowing.
Follow the 11-hour thing with the MassDOT. What happened was I was short-handed for one. We had some contractors.
Yeah.
We had 2 feet of snow. Myself was out there for 30 hours along with Paul. Me and Paul were just continually moving trees and branches, keeping the roads from debris from trees. So that took us off our plow routes. So now we're short a couple more people because the roots started falling behind.
Right.
And it was a heavy, wet snow. The equipment was working hard. The smallest stuff barely made it through it. It was struggling.
Looks like plowing
It was
cinder
just a
block.
miserable
Yeah,
snow.
Blowing cement was
Absolutely
awful.
horrible.
So when all this was happening, plus help working with the power company, which we work great with, and
In the
it
school.
was it was a small disaster.
I got you.
Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions for Article 3?
Thank you.
None, okay, go to Article 4.
Article 4, fiscal year 2023 sewer department operating budget supplement. To see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $40,000 and no cents to increase the FY 2023 sewer department budget by said sum to total in the aggregate the sum of $1,479,750 and no cents, and to meet said appropriation by a transfer of said sum from certified retained earnings or to take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board on behalf of the sewer commissioners. A majority vote is required on this article.
Excellent. Anybody have any questions on this?
Is anyone from the sewer department here to?
Oh, hey, what, can you identify yourself?
My name's Tom Hurd. I'm one of the members on the sewer commission.
Excellent, Tom. Can you help us a little by speaking as to what this, why we need to have this, why do we need to move this money?
I wasn't really prepared to speak on the sewer department, but
You will too, okay. Adam will.
generally, they're anticipating the way the economy seems to be headed and everything. They're anticipating more expenses on the chemicals used at the department. Fuel for the vehicles and one of the other things that's always on mind is equipment failures. Replacing things, that's all a lot more expensive than it used to be, so I think that's where this all came from.
Okay.
Rather than dipping into the retained earnings continually, if we look at budgeting it, that is a safer plan, I believe.
Excellent.
And my next question was going to be, and Mr. Lamontagne may be able to answer this better as well, is that, so if we need this now, did we plan for it for the next fiscal year as well?
Well, what you have in front of you is you have this article that used some $40,000 from certified retaining earnings in Article 18. So they have about 63K in sewer retained earnings if both articles were passed. Remember, they had just increased the sewer rates to grow the budget will be better, and then the retained earnings should be back on track in the near future.
Currently looking at Article 18, which is the FY 2024 sewer department operating budget. It's being $1,440,723. You guys are asking for an increase for FY 23 $1,479,750. So, I mean, at first glance, did not plan for this in fiscal year 2024. At first glance, it looks like we are $40,000 short there again.
Well, I believe-
That's just my first glance. So,
I believe the rating. Majority of.
Okay.
Okay.
Over the course of the year.
so you think the rate increases are going to cover it for
I
next
believe
year?
the rate increases,
Commissioners,
Okay.
the sewer superintendent, so.
yeah.
I believe they have a plan.
Really good job on the budgets and he's doing. Everything's transparent between the commissioners and the superintendent. As far as budgeting and.
See none, Article 5. To amend Article 1, Section 28-6 of the bylaws, entitled Department Revolving Funds by making certain deletions, throughs, and additions in bold. Subsection E as follows. E, establish the Department revolving accounts are follows. And plumbing and gas inspector compensation fund, electrical wiring inspector compensation fund, Parks Recreation Fund, which again strikeout was the community. Also strikeout Director of Community Service, now Director of Public Services, Chair of Parks and Recreation Commission, or one commissioner. Also, the FY 2019 was strike out to 2024. And right. That was all that was done with that. That was all that was done. Any questions with that? Yeah, Jeff.
I do have a concern.
What's that?
The Parks and Recreation Board Committee, and this is a revolving fund for them. And my concern is and that committee be authorized to expend money out of that. It's like burial improvement fund, you only have the cemetery commission, you don't have a department head. Public services authorized to expend out of there, nor does the Board of Health. Such as the health agent authorized to expend money out of that. Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Okay,
So
It should require a vote. by the
fortunately, Parks and Recreation is here.
Board to spend money out of their revolving.
Before, Candace, identify yourself, please.
Graves, Parks and Rec.
Thank you.
So on January 17th, the Parks and Rec Commission voted doing the process right now. So we get a bill, anything we spend. Most of our fee-based programs, like shirts and all that, is all bulked into the program.
Yep.
But like we had to replace a lot of equipment for softball recently because we found out the dates and all that stuff. So everything that we take out of our accounts, we vote for. The new process is that if I was sick or out, our secondary that we're voting for would take my place. Bob, the department already has a secretary. Yeah, so it
Casey's
takes
out.
both of our signatures to take anything out, and everything is based on the votes of the commission.
Okay.
So we don't. We needed insurance for Babe Ruth, and so at meeting, they ran in, hurried up, and we made sure we voted on that. Or when we had the tractor in a meeting, I had to make sure I put that in to make sure we could pay for that. So we're always voting on what we spend. Come in through our fees of our sports, and our sponsorship, and our selling of our concessions. take out. This year, we're spending a little bit more than usual. We had the funds in it from years past, and we had to fix a lot of the programs. We outdated, and just like we had to buy that giant what do you call it, shipping container conics to put in the tractor because everybody was tripping over it everywhere. So
So
I think the question at hand is the fact that there's actually 3 people that have the authority to spend money out of the Parks and Recreation Fund.
and
That's the concern.
it takes 2 signatures
Well,
to release the funds.
and process makes sense. Committee votes to expend, you sign or your designate, you sign or your designate, takes 2 signatures to come out. Is this documented somewhere?
What do you mean?
Policy.
Is there a policy that states that this is the procedure for any money to come out of Parks and Recreation?
It wasn't a
Because-
vote.
And that you guys vote and then you sign and then he signed, but this needs to be written down somewhere stating that this is the
Are
process.
you aware of this?
If I could just
Please.
step back a couple.
Please,
People are jumping ahead.
help me understand.
So basically what happened is signed by Governor Baker.
Yes, we got that. Yeah.
And they just recently became, not too long ago, a Parks and Recreation Commission,
Yep.
which
Yes.
they're a policy-making body.
Yes.
And they're policies right now.
And which, by the way, Article 7 in this warrant also is accepting the language in that was signed by Baker.
Correct. And so that's something that they could certainly tackle. Because
Yeah.
they are a policy-making body at this point. But then if we could go back a little bit further. And where all it was the Director of Community Services could expend out of it.
Right.
All this does is give a little bit more leeway. So let's say Parks and Rec, because they only have 4 members right now.
Mhm.
They lose 1 more member and they might not even have a commission.
Right. No
So
quorum.
at least there's leeway here where. And then provide support to at least the members that are still, but they might not be able to take any action.
Again, I have no problem with the article. Okay, but the recommendation to Parks and Rec should be document clearly what the procedure is for having money coming out of the revolving fund. Okay. And not just for if you have a full quorum and you can take votes, make sure there is something in there that don't have a quorum, that the signature, that at that point, it can be done by the
Because that's how it is if they have a quorum.
Right. So
That-
just
that's
make
can't-
sure just make sure we document those and make sure they align. That's the biggest thing.
Purchase, we sign off on the bills. Right, so if when there's no vote for anything to be purchased, then there's nothing to sign.
I'm not. Process,
Yes,
Okay.
without policies, there's no accountability.
right, exactly. That's the thing. There's no policy, there's no accountability, which means
Bad things
in the world that I work in, if it's not written down, you didn't do it. So just make sure that we have written down in the policies the way the accepted way to expend money is that whatever it is, the commission votes on it. And the DPW director signs and it requires 2 signatures in order to be able to expend. That's all I'm saying you need to do. Just make sure it's documented.
Mr. Chair. I have a
Yes.
question of the Administrator.
Yes.
Are there appropriate checks on the money coming in? We hope for the money coming in.
As it is right now, when you get funds because it changed from the community services. Documented with the turnover.
And
Turnover goes to
it comes in for
Treasurer.
Unipay, I do a turnover for Unipay.
Talk about the money coming in, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's all documented, who, if someone gives us cash, I have a special receipt I have to give with a cash number. In the turnovers, Yeah, right now I'm doing all of that.
Unit pay is all electronic.
Yeah, eventually we'll have a rec assistant that will do all that.
On Parks and Recreation, because they've been doing a great job offering programs to all the
Yeah, absolutely,
community.
absolutely.
So thank you, Candace, and your board.
Jeff, go ahead.
Not to beat a dead horse, but if you don't have a quorum of a multi-member board, then you can't do any business. So how would you have a policy that says there's two signatures? Sign for you if we don't have a quorum. If you don't have a quorum, you can't do business.
Understood.
You can't do anything.
No, you're right.
And that's, yeah,
I've already told the public.
Basic.
Hold on,
told
Candace, hold on,
everybody that-
Candace. Candace, hold on one sec. Okay, finish,
and
Jeff.
that's, I mean, that's just the basic of it. That's why, in my opinion, my experience, this is a bad setup.
I understand. Go ahead, Candace.
We've told the public that we're shorthanded in our board. We have 5 members, but one hasn't showed up.
Thank you for correct, yeah.
We have a 7-member board, and my board members are aware of that. Like, we're a 1-year board. They're not guaranteed that we'll keep them next year.
Okay,
But the public has been, I mean, every time I do stuff, I try to get people aware of it. You know, that we won't be able to pay our bills if we don't have a quorum. I've told them.
yeah, you're doing a great job. I mean, keep up the good work, that's for sure. But as Jeff says, I mean, if you don't have a quorum, obviously, regardless of who's on the revolving fund here to move money or spend or money, it has to start with the commission first before it can go to anybody else. And all our standpoint is, you know, we base all our stuff off policies. So if it's a policy that's written that how things are done, just like the management policies.
Yep.
You know, that's why they're written. They're safeguards for us. And they're also safeguards for all the volunteers out there too. They're safeguards for all of us.
And could I also say
Sure.
too, I want to note, we Candace and I spoke about this and the reason why you have this leeway too. We don't want to get into a predicament where if they don't have a quorum, then we're going to stop all the programs that we're offering for the community. Like, because we don't have somebody that could sign. I think that's important to know. So let's say Candace still on, they have 3 people, but they can't get a quorum. At least she could still work with Bob and still get things, still offer basketball or offer soccer or offer these programs without having a quorum.
Yeah, we pre-voted. I've been working to pre-vote things as they go along so that next year is pretty much voted in.
Mhm.
So that we're ahead of the game, so that if
Just
something
in
happens
case.
come July, we will still be able to have soccer. But the public has to know if they want these programs that we have to have people sitting on the board. I mean, we can have, you don't have to be, some people, I mean, we have, right now, I'm probably the most action oriented of all the members right now. The other 3 of them, I mean, they've pitched in, and Jessica is wonderful. She does helps with the concession. But they're busy people too. And so we're trying to set it up so that it takes care of itself, that the commission they can do all the hands-on stuff like it used to do. We're trying to make it so that the coordinators and the volunteers and the coaches and everything, it's more self-sufficient, but yet has guidance to it, where there's certain different levels of who's doing what. So that having that rec assistant is going to tie everything together. Same thing with the concession stand coordinator. It ties it all together. It's based on other communities. So we've looked at other communities and how they operate. And the bigger cities are the ones that you get a better idea of how you take that and kind of shrink it down and have a better idea of how they keep themselves together.
All right. Well, great.
Or
Thanks.
should it be, excuse me, it should be something. Everybody's volunteered right now. And everybody's much appreciated. Everybody's doing a good job on all this volunteered. And different committees that we have.
Mhm.
But what if we end up with nobody, I mean, such as your board. The select board should be able to make a determination if something's needed in a real hard pinch to
Mhm.
make a decision. With myself or whoever's remaining on.
Yeah, whatever policies that are put in place for utilization of how things are supposed to operate, that's what you're supposed to follow.
Yeah.
So if it's from Parks and Recreation, or it's the Board of Selectmen policies, or, you know, kind of come up with policies for the advisory committee, I mean, it's just how, it's like, it's the playbook, so to speak. And can the playbook, you know, you can rewrite stuff, you can add stuff, you know, typically you just don't want to take away from stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just a safeguard for everybody, that's all.
That's really all I was getting at, is that just make sure that we have whatever the policy is for expending, make sure we have it written down, especially where you're gonna have to go through and rewrite your policies anyway.
Right.
Write it down, have it on paper and follow it.
Any other questions with that article?
Article 6.
Article 6, go ahead.
Article 6, consent agenda, to see if the town will vote to approve a consent agenda consisting of the following non-controversial actions or take any other action related thereto. Such items may be voted as a block or singly or in any combination, but however voted will be treated for accounting and legislative purposes as if each item were voted as a separate article. A, reports of town officers, accept the reports of the town officers as printed in the 2022 town report. B, reports of town committees. Allow any town committee to present its report. C, set annual spending limits of revolving funds. Set the annual spending limits of the town's revolving funds as follows: burial and improvement fund, $10,000, recycling fund, $10,000, plumbing and gas inspector fund, $20,000, electrical inspector fund, $25,000, parks and recreation fund, $60,000. D, accept transportation network community fee assessment. Appropriate such sum of money as may be received by the town from the Massachusetts Transportation Network Community Fee Assessment to an account entitled Mart Dial-A-Ride, or take any other action thereunto. Submitted by the select board, a majority vote is required on this article.
Excellent. My first question is gonna be the plumbing and gas inspector, electrical inspector at one's $25,000. Is that gonna be enough for an annual inspection fees?
We raised these a couple of years ago.
I believe it when you were on advisory.
It was when I was the chair of
And then
advisory.
Lori felt comfortable, I believe,
Yep.
at that time.
That was a big discussion in one of my,
And then Candace and I spoke, 60,000 was, so, yeah, with these, I'm pretty confident they should be okay. But there's a mechanism too, where we could go back.
Right.
Okay, excellent.
select board and advisory committee both have to vote to approve. Yep, that's
I
correct.
gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah, Jeff.
Reports of town officers.
Yes.
The 2022 annual town report, has that been printed yet?
It's been sent to the printer. It'll be online, I believe it's next week, but it won't be printed for this. It'll be online.
For
We'll
the
get
town
it in-
meeting,
Yeah, no, we get it in for the election. that's
Yeah.
what the bylaw says.
you'll have it for the town,
Election.
the election, which is the Monday following.
And
So, bylaw states that the annual town report is supposed to be printed and available on the town's website last Tuesday of April.
No, it's supposed to be on the website. It's not to be
And
printed.
printed. I'm not gonna argue, I'm just saying what the bylaw states. My other concern is the audit. Is the audit in the annual town report?
Yes,
The audit has been received via electronically by email,
yes,
but it is financial management policy says the selectmen will endeavor to have that completed by January of each year. It has not been presented nor accepted by the Board of Selectmen as of this date, so. how does
the
it-
audit hasn't?
No, it has not been on the report.
Thanks.
So how does it end up in
Mr. Benedict knows.
a financial report that hasn't been presented and accepted?
Yep,
If
you're
I
right.
can,
Go ahead.
Mr. Bennett's aware, the challenge we have is light and water.
Yes, that was a challenge.
Have a separate auditing firm. So by the time we're delayed, significant amount of time before we could complete our audit till we get their audit. That's the challenge that we have. We have since received the draft audit. We're coordinating right now with Mr. Roselli, to have him, here at I believe we have the May select board meeting to accept the audit. So,
Which is after the town meeting and the town election.
correct. But that's the challenge we have, and that's a policy we're probably gonna have to adjust, because we can't tell light and water who their auditing firm is.
Jeff, you have anything on that? I mean, because obviously, light and water, I mean, that their audit depends on how our audit goes. So if they're late, then we're late.
I don't know why a town department cannot get their audit done before the end of a fiscal year.
I think I might have a little
It's-
insight on that.
Okay,
I believe there's a section, I think it's 56 in chapter 164, where the general manager of the light department is supposed to report financial stuff to the board of selectmen. It's, as well as I do,
Yep.
that has not been done.
yep, you know that, and I do as well.
That's the issue, and I just don't understand why a town department that's supposed to be all awesome and great and not get an audit done. It's like paying a bill almost a year late.
I understood.
I believe it's the electric portion that is on a calendar year. And the water portion is on a fiscal year like the town. So they have to wait till the end of their calendar year to get their complete audit done.
Why is
I
that?
believe that's why. it
Have you
takes
talked to
that long.
Mr. Driscoll about that?
He knows we wait. We send the email, Kelly sends the email. I followed up.
I mean, is there any way that, I mean, potentially they, you, as our partners, they can work on maybe getting with the same
Time frame.
fiscal year versus the calendar year? Maybe they can, that way it would. it would
I
help.
think that's a bigger discussion with the light and water commissioners.
Yeah, well, that's something I think the select board and your office needs to, because obviously this is gonna continually have the same impact. And Jeff's right. I mean, obviously, we're voting on something that the townspeople aren't even gonna see until after the fact.
So it's either we get it coordinated or we have to change the policy.
Right.
They will see it online.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people in town that don't have computers though.
I have section,
Unfortunately, I mean, we still have to, you know,
for clarification, I'm looking at the town bylaws right now. Section 71-3, annual report. Publication, it shall be the duty of the board to publish the annual report to be made available to the residents on the official town website on the last Tuesday of April of each year, and for distribution at the polling places and also at town hall and the board's office.
You get that, Jeff? Thank you.
What is the implied statement?
Implied.
It implies that the printed copy is due at the same time as the
Yeah,
digital copy.
but it says.
That's the implication.
No.
No, I
It
mean,
doesn't say,
it's all about interpretation, I think, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
there's a lot of gray area there.
There is definitely some gray, and I think maybe the
It's-
policies.
I was just gonna say, it's written, the way that it's written,
Maybe the bylaw
I
needs
think
to
it's
be
written
looked at.
purposefully with gray area.
I think the bylaw
But
needs to be looked at, and that's something
I
maybe,
think-
maybe we can.
I think the way that it's written, I think it's written purposely with gray area, and that that gray area, I mean, if I had to interpret it, it would be that it must be online by the final Tuesday of April, and then the rest of it is,
Hand it out.
it must be available at the polling places. So I think it's written that way intentionally, but yeah, that's exactly. That's lawyer speak, exactly. No, I 100% agree with you, but that's I know that if I were the person interpreting it, that's the way that I would interpret it, is that anything that's written past the requirement date is not held by the requirement date.
All right, any other questions with that article? Sit down. Moving on to Article 7.
I'll read it.
Thank you.
Article 7, amend the bylaws, Recreation Commission. To see if the town will vote to amend Article 4 of the general bylaws by changing the title of the article from Recreation Commission to Parks and Recreation Commission, and by amending section 916 of that article as follows. Section 916, membership appointment terms, strike vacancies. And then the entire section is stricken and replaced with reference chapter 311 of the Acts of 2022, or take any other action related thereunto submitted by the select board. A majority vote is required on this article.
Any questions with that? That's
We
pretty
kinda-
standard.
Yeah, we kind of got into this a little bit earlier when we were talking about the changes to the revolving fund titles, that the chapter 311 of the Acts of 2022 is what Governor Baker signed, that we voted by one of the town meetings and sent to him. So that's all this is doing, is accepting that, is accepting what he signed into law.
Any other comments on this? Questions, concerns? Excellent.
I will.
Don't do Article 8.
Yeah, I'll continue. I'll continue to save your voice. I'm fine with that. Article 8, amend the bylaws advisory committee to see if the town will vote to amend chapter 9 of the general bylaws as follows. Section 9.2, appointment terms, officers and compensation. The change is in the final sentence. The advisory committee shall choose its own officers. Striking at this point, the language "and its members will serve without pay." Continuing with "and it shall be caused to be kept a true record of its own proceedings, or take any other action related thereunto, submitted by the select board. A majority vote is required on this article.
Excellent. Any questions on this one?
Just as this is research that I have done myself, looking at other towns and what their what their bylaws state with regards to either their advisory committee or their finance committee. Some towns have an advisory, some towns have a finance. They both are tasked with pretty much the same duties. It's just it's a language thing. Westminster Advisory Committee, there is no language in there regarding without pay. Ashburnham does have the language. They do state that their advisory committee will serve without pay. Finance Committee in Orange does not have such language. Finance Committee in Lunenburg does not have such language. Finance Committee in Sterling does not have such language. Finance Committee in Harvard does not have such language. So it's all over the board. It depends on what town you're in. this is just proposed to remove that 1 6-word, 7-word article.
Excellent. Any other comments? You have anything? Okay, Mike, you have anything?
Nope.
Article 9, amending the bylaws, reflags. To see if the town will vote to amend chapter 240 of the general bylaws by inserting a new article 6 as follows. Section 240-16 reserved, section 240-17 flags for display on town-owned flagpoles. This bylaw permits the following, but not limited to, town-owned flags to be flown on town-owned flagpoles: the flag of the United States of America, the flag of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the flag of the Prisoners of War Missing in Action, POW/MIA, firefighters flag, and the flags of the Departments of Defense. The town may approve other flags to be flown on town-owned flagpoles and as an expression of the town's official sentiments. Flagpoles are not intended to serve as a forum for free expression by the public. No more than 2 flags may be flown on a single flagpole at a time. Flags with the following characteristics will specifically not be accepted for display: flags that promote political fundraising within the meaning of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 55. Flags that promote or oppose a candidate, ballot question, political party, political committee, or any other matter placed or to be placed before the voters at the polls, or that otherwise promotes a political campaign purpose within the meaning of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapters 50 through 55. Flags that endorse religion or any particular religion, or that endorse opposition to religion or any particular religion. Flags that contain commercial advertising. Flags that are not appropriate for general audiences of all ages. Applications may also be denied if they do not comply with the requirements of this policy or other relevant requirements, bylaws, regulations, or policies of the town. Approval of the placement of flag on town-owned flagpoles shall be the responsibility of the select board and selectively delegated to the town administrator. In cases where delegated responsibility causes a difference of approval or denial for any of the authorized approvers, the ultimate final decision authority resides with the select board. The approval of requests for placement of flags on town-owned flagpoles shall be accomplished by making requests to the select board in accordance with established select board policy. A record of approvals and denials shall be kept in the select board and town administrators' municipal offices. Section 240-18 reserved. Or take any other action related thereunto. This article is submitted by the select board and a majority of a vote is required to approve the article.
Excellent. Any questions on the flagpoles and flags? Any questions?
Article 10, amend cemetery regulations. To see if the town will vote to approve pursuant to Chapter 114, Section 23 of the Massachusetts General Laws, the amendment of the Cemetery Commission's regulations by adding to the regulations a new section as follows: internment and monument fees. The Cemetery Commission may adopt, amend, and enforce a schedule of fees for internments and monument installations based on factors affecting the cost, time, and labor for the internment or installation, including but not limited to the time of year or the size of the monument, or take any other action related thereto. This article is submitted by the select board on the behalf of the Cemetery Commission, and a majority vote is required to enact the article.
Excellent. Yes.
So basically with this, we've done obviously a lot of research. So Joe Salata, Chair of the Cemetery Commission, I have my fellow board members, Shannon Nugent, and Mike Capps. So over the last couple of years, really what this addresses, as we've kind of discussed before, is, we've done some evaluation of adjoining cemeteries. There's different schedules associated with, say, for example, a winter burial. Right now, we don't charge for that, and there could potentially be 3-4 feet worth of permafrost that doubles and triples the time that it takes to dig in and obviously get the gravesite prepped for burial. So really what this allows us to do is institute fees such as that. consistent with, I said, adjoining towns. There's other things that we're actually taking a look at, not an immediate decision, but we take a look at our kind of how we price out our plots and things like that. And, not to say, I mean, we're relatively inexpensive to the point where it's almost detrimental to, as we continue to make improvements to the cemeteries. And, I can bring up a list of things that we've done. We need to try to account for added costs as we try to beautify the cemeteries and do more with them. So this kind of allows us to set fees, increase fees if we have to. We have certain requirements that come in for certain monuments that are of certain size. So we amended the rules in November that kind of set a limit of how big the monument should be. But with that comes foundation costs and labor and materials and things like that. So, the other component that us as a board really haven't addressed, but it's something that is getting more and more popularity. Things like green burials, right? So I don't know if you've heard of that. There's certain things in certain cemeteries where they're kind of getting away from the traditional full burials and cremations, where they're looking at, maybe certain sections where they could do these green burials that are more, I guess, beneficial to the environment. So that's a whole other separate. So how do you potentially charge for that if there's anything that you could do, right? Because so those are just a couple of things, and really what this addresses. And that's kind of what it is in summary.
Excellent.
I don't know if there's any questions or.
Thank you for that. Mike, do you have a question?
No, I'm good.
No?
Basically, what you're just trying to do is you're trying to set your fees such that you remain solvent more than anything else.
Yeah, part of that too. But as we said, we just voted on as a board some fertilizer projects, cost of
Improve
materials.
the cemeteries.
Yeah, we put in new signs, we put new water pits in, we're doing some work with Pine Grove, we're instituting fees for like boards and things like that. So yeah, that's a great summary.
Excellent.
Good.
Is our current monuments and headstones, gravestones, are they installed by the town or is there private?
Set the foundations.
If I may,
Yeah.
we prep the foundation, we
Who's
do
we?
the base,
Who's we?
the building grounds.
Okay.
Okay,
Right, that's-
thank you.
Just trying to, I mean,
We, those two.
yeah, exactly.
No, it's a
Thank you. I just
smart clarification.
Looks like we need to rope you into some work.
I know, right? Believe me, I got some volunteers.
Monument, A flat marker
Yeah.
or cremation, we prep all that, and Joe and the committee, they've been working real hard for 2 years. They've made a lot of improvements. And they've taken a good look at everything. Right now, at the cemeteries, we no longer sell 6-8 grave lots, which is still listed, so they're cleaning it up, we're trying to readjust the price and more compatible with the surrounding neighbors. And like you said, the winter burials, you could have 2 feet of snow, you could have 2 feet of frost, and that does take up a considerable amount of time, so.
Right, then if the machine breaks.
Right.
They're on the right track, and I think, that'd be smart.
So as Mike was saying, so you put the cement out there for the stones to go on.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, excellent. Anything else for this article?
Yeah.
Yes,
Just a comment on cemetery commissioners,
yes.
and there's another article here to follow, that shows what they've been doing.
Mhm.
The cemetery commissioners have actually, in the last few years, been doing the work of cemetery commissioners, as was voted by town meeting when they created them. 48, I think, somewhere.
Long time ago.
They're actually concentrating, and while I don't agree with every little regular thing they do, but they are providing service that they're elected to do.
Mhm.
They're being very good with the funds that they have, that are specific to the cemetery as well as town funds. Access to the cemeteries, improving them. They're actually doing the work that they are supposed to do.
That's
And
awesome.
It's good to see
It's good to hear.
an elected commission actually do that type of work, so.
Yeah.
It's very beneficial to the town.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's an attaboy. Great. For you.
Thanks. I'll stick around for the second.
Okay,
article.
that would be
Yeah.
great.
Because it
Well,
has to do with.
okay, so any other thing with Article 10? Any other questions, comments? Okay, moving on.
Article 11, funding of community preservation accounts. To see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $510,000 and no cents to the several accounts of the Community Preservation Committee as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee as follows. Account, amount, and percent of total. Administrative account, $25,500, 5%. Historic Resources Reserve, $51,000, 10%. Community Housing Reserve, $51,000, 10%. Open Space and Recreation Reserve, $51,000, 10%. General Reserve, $331,500, 65%, for a total of $510,000. And to meet said appropriation by a transfer from the Community Preservation Annual Revenues, which include the amount to be collected as a surcharge on real property and the November 2023 state match for CPC permissible expenses, or to take any other action related thereunto. Submitted by the Select Board on behalf of the Community Preservation Commission, a majority vote is required to pass the article.
Excellent.
Real quick,
Yes.
for the public's knowledge, everything that you see in this article is dictated by Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44B, Section 6. It very clearly states what the annual revenues of the CPC must go to, and the percentages presented in the article are aligned with what the law states it should be.
Excellent. Any questions with Article 11? Yes, Jeff.
Just to, I don't think this can be said enough. These are tax dollars.
Yep.
It's not no free money.
Right.
And the state match comes out of the state budget,
Mhm.
including from fees for registry of deeds. You buy, sell a house, etc.
Yep.
You pay a fee. The town takes tax taking property, you have to pay a fee. So this is, it's, people like to say, this is free money.
Well, it's
No.
not.
But when
It's
you real
not.
estate tax bill,
No.
it's.
You're
not
paying
free.
for this.
Yeah.
And
You're
if
paying
you
for
are
this.
in a low income bracket, you can file paperwork to get this, so you don't have to pay this charge.
Yep.
Which is something else I don't think a lot of people are. aware of.
Yeah.
Candace has her hand up.
Candace, yes.
Our town is very lucky. We get the highest match in any of the communities.
Mhm.
So we get a lot more money than some of the other ones. But it is a wonderful program. I mean, like you said, it's not free money. You're paying your taxes, but we're getting extra money on top of it. And at the end of the year, if there's any, what you call like their free cash, like the government or whatever, they vote for it and they add extra money to that account. So because we get the highest amount as a town, we benefit even more because of that too. So it's between what we put in as taxpayers, the match from, getting the, the registrations and all those things, and then the extra money that the governor's office, and they all vote for it to give extra money. So it's a wonderful thing that our town is allowed to do this, and it benefits those categories. If without that money, I don't think that some of the stuff in this town we could ever afford to get some of the stuff done, or would we ever put that money to those things? Like, I mean, if you look at how we argue about like school board money and stuff. Could you imagine us having to argue about taking care of a park or any of the open space or any of that stuff? So this eliminates a lot of that, taking care of the things that we own in our town and taking care of those categories.
Yep.
It's just a wonderful program. We're very lucky to have this. Mr. Henshaw has worked very hard over the years. I mean, we're very blessed.
And if I could also add, Mr. Henshaw would have been here, but he had a conflict this
Yeah.
evening, so Candace came
Yes, I try my best.
from CPC.
What nerve?
So John didn't want to come? Is that what you're saying?
Well, Candace is here for another
Nerve.
article.
Another thing, yeah.
We'll talk to him later.
Mr. Henshaw can explain it. Then we went to training this year and we learned so much stuff that we
Good.
did. And even Mr. Henshaw was like, oh, I didn't know that. So
Good.
we learned something.
That's great.
So it was
That's good.
wonderful, yeah.
And
I have a question, well, a statement or a question.
Identify yourself again for me, sir.
I'm sorry?
Identify yourself.
Oh, Tom Hurd.
Tom, okay, thanks, Tom.
My question is, the money that comes out of the taxes doesn't increase as the money's divvied out for the various things. The way I understand it, it's about 3%, but it's calculated after the assessment is done on the property. Am I correct on that, Candace, or?
You mean
Or-
I mean,
It's up to, I believe, there's a certain cap where it goes up to, if I remember correctly. Where there's a 3% surcharge that goes on for the CPA. Unless I'm not interpreting it correctly, but that's how I believe to understand
Jeff,
it.
that's right, right?
There is a 3%
3%.
surcharge on your property. The first $100,000 is exempt, and that's how town meeting voted.
That's the
back in
cap.
That's it.
2007.
There we go.
when they approve that. And with the 3% surcharge, the town gets into, 3 blocks of funding, if you will. They have the initial one where, and as more communities have voted to get in on this, the pizza is, the slices are getting smaller and smaller. That's why the increase in registry of deeds, because there've been years, it's instead of 100% match from the state, it's gone down because more towns get in it. Where's the money coming from? So they've done, the state has,
So,
increased charges on different things to try to keep that 100% match.
but that 3% is on after the property's assessed. It's not added to the assessment
No,
of
no,
the property.
it's separate. Your real estate taxes are figured out, say it's $3,000, then your assessment is 3% of that, and it's on your real estate tax bill as a surcharge.
Yeah, I've seen it on there. I just, it's kind of unclear, and I went on the website and, when you go on websites, just start reading, it's,
Yeah, it gets,
yeah.
the
It
state.
gets a little hairy sometimes.
Legalese takes over real fast.
But it is a decent program for
Yeah.
cities and towns. It is. All
It's-
right, let's so, excellent. Any other thing with Article 11? I'm moving on Article 12.
Article 12. CPA funding for Baptist Common Cemetery access to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $38,000 and no cents for the below mentioned project as follows. Building and Grounds Cemetery Commission to create walking trail to Baptist Common Cemetery. $38,000 coming from the CPA Open Space Fund. The appropriation of the $38,000 from the Templeton CPA Fund balance reserved for open space resources for the Department of Public Works in conjunction with the Templeton Cemetery Commission to create a walking trail on town-owned land from Baldwinville Road to gain access to the historic Baptist Common Cemetery. The work will include some tree brush work, installation of split rail fencing, signage, and additional landscaping, or to take any other action related thereunto, submitted by the Select Board on behalf of the Community Preservation Commission, our committee. Majority vote is required for this article.
Excellent. Anybody have any questions?
I can just highlight kind of the project really quick. So this is something that's kind of been in the works. Joe Salata, Cemetery Commission Chair. Obviously we've got kind of a unique spot back there and it's kind of hidden away, right? And been trying to figure out ways to kind of bring additional attention to these historical cemeteries, right? So we've got 2 in town. And the next project, which will come up next year, will probably be try to do something with the town common. We've already done what we could in there. But what this kind of allows us to do, we kind of went through about a year and a half to figure out the best way to do it. It was originally going to be kind of a walking trail where the mowers kind of go through, just put a sign there to give recognition to the, to where Baptist Common was. And then got some great feedback from John and his group about making it more permanent. Because the one thing that was kind of not quite as solid, I guess, in the original idea was it was technically on private land, and there's like intersections of like 3 different kind of ownerships, and one particular, like it's literally like 200 feet of property lines that cross. So, but long story short was we wanted to make something that was strictly town owned, to be permanent, from the community can use from here on out without the risk of, for example, if there was a private sale or whatever, they could say, hey, take down your sign that you just spent money on. So we went out there, with Jake, who's Bob's foreman, and then John, Mr. Bennett came out too and kind of proposed this walking trail from there's like 6.5 acres of land that I didn't even know that we owned, right? So we're gonna run it. We're gonna put a sign facing on the road. Hopefully, if this gets voted in, it's gonna be a walking trail. Nothing. We're gonna put a split rail fence, which is kind of historical. Take whatever chippings that we get from the brushwork, lay that down, and then we're gonna put an additional, I guess a keystone while you get to the cemetery. That'll maybe identify, Baptist Common, whoever might be buried in there.
Okay.
Right? And it was kind of an intersection of multiple things. They said you could potentially use open space, you could use CPC. This fits really what the program is instituted for.
Okay.
So it made perfect sense to us.
Joe, there's Sons of American Revolution buried in there, correct?
I know that. Yeah.
Quite
yeah.
a few.
Yeah, there's about 38, I think 30 or 40 stones back there. So we want to bring some kind of recognition there. maybe, we could even identify those veterans and put that on the keystone. There's a couple of different ways. This will just allocate the funds. And they actually, the sign maker is the same one that did the Templeton burial ground. I don't know if you guys have seen that. That's kind of a neat sign. So that's really the goal. And then maybe there's potential to even, maybe expand further in the back and make more of a park. I mean, that's long term, but
Right.
try to get this out of the way.
It's unfortunate there's no parking over there.
I know
Well, if I may add.
Right.
Oh, please
so
do.
People that are not familiar, the cemetery is.
Yeah.
Off of Baptist Common,
Yeah.
Ballinville Road, so. 2 houses before the DPW. There's actually a curb cut already in the road
Mhm.
where we could probably get a couple of cut. It's not gonna be overwhelmed with cars, I don't think. And that's where the sign and the trail will begin. Go out on town property and then make a bend to the right into the cemetery. And they also can park at the DPW like on the weekends and walk on the sidewalk.
Well, that was my next question, because I know that the scouts go through there all the time and
Yeah,
it's,
I mean, it'd be another, we could probably incorporate the scouts as Eagle project.
Oh, yeah.
As well,
excellent.
because the DPW.
Great Eagle parlor.
Will assist in some of the brush trimming and cutting of trees. And chipping. They could maybe pick up the trail going in and help out with that.
Well, we have
Like a sign for the pass the cease or something, but it's gonna be a great opportunity for the town to have access to that cemetery that people don't even know is back there. It's-
Right.
You can see it in the fall or early spring when the leaves ain't on the trees, if you look, but I think
That's
it's a
it.
good asset.
Joe?
Thank you, Rick.
Is there any plan to include photographs out there of the old Baptist Common Church?
Uh,
With the graves, with the.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard about it. Certainly would need some guidance on that. We've talked about it. It's a possibility. I mean, I would have to just figure out the logistics of how that would work. But I mean, there's still some of the foundation out there, right? In the old Baptist Common
It is,
Church.
yeah.
So, I mean, and with the CPC money, it doesn't come out, I mean, it's all kind of, it's almost, free money that you can use it for, right?
Right.
So there's a lot of different opportunities that you can, that you can break and expand, right? I mean, one of my fellow board members said, what about we put like an additional park or something in the back, right? Behind the walking trail, maybe that's something that you could so yeah, I mean, great suggestion, certainly something that we could look at. I mean,
Ties into the historic relevance. of-
absolutely, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Excellent. No, that's some great job. That's good use of the CPC funds. Anybody else have any questions?
Far overdue.
Any other questions? None? All right, moving on.
Article 13. CPA funding for Dwelly Farm ongoing restoration. To see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $36,500 and no cents for the below mentioned project as follows. Item agent to expend will be North County Land Trust. Purpose is wildlife habitat improvement, invasive plant management and promotion. And it will come from the open space fund of the CPA. The appropriation of $36,500 from the Templeton CPA fund balance reserved for open space resources for the nonprofit North County Land Trust to continue wildlife habitat improvement, invasive plant management, and to promote public participation in open space activities at the Dwelly Farm Conservation Area on Berry Road, Templeton, or to take any other action related thereto. Submitted by the Select Board on behalf of the Community Preservation Committee. A majority vote is required to pass the article.
Excellent. Anyone have any questions?
If I may, that's on Berry Road, that'll be just after the first Henshaw entrance. And the crew, the DPW will actually install the sign there today, so.
I saw that go up this morning, actually.
Well marked, and it's an ongoing project, and they're doing a great job. of it.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. I didn't see that.
I agree. No, I saw the sign go up for this morning. I've seen work there continually over the past couple of years because I live down that neck of the woods. So
What type of work are they doing there?
They did some land clearing out front, removed a lot of trees. Now they're working out in the woods with the plants and the trails and the bridges, and
Okay,
they're doing a great job.
excellent.
And the sign looks excellent.
it does. Yeah. Came out very good
You just put it up.
I'm sure it does.
today.
Did you make
I
it?
just told them.
Did you make the sign?
I didn't know. I'm not that.
I know you're talented.
Good, but
The last, right?
Any other question with Article 13?
I just have a question to make
Yes.
it off topic. Is that open to the public then, Tom? This is Tom. Everything.
Yes.
yeah, oh yeah, that's completely open to the public.
So you can go down and walk the trails and stuff.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yep, absolutely.
All part of the open space. Yes, Candace?
Yeah, that's all part of CPC. All of it has to be open to the public, it's
Yep.
part of the rules.
Yep, sure is. Any other question with Article 13? You're waving at me.
No, I'm just letting Brian know he's up next.
Always waving.
Next man.
Article 14.
Article 14, CPA funding for Grange Hall ADA bathrooms to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $80,000 and no cents for the below mentioned project as follows. The item agent to expend will be the Narragansett Historical Society to rehabilitate ground floor restrooms. And this money will be coming from the Templeton CPA Fund Balance Reserve for Historic Resources for the nonprofit Narragansett Regional Historical Society to rehabilitate ground floor restrooms of the historic Templeton Grange Hall to enable Americans with Disability Act compliant access. Public benefit to include no cost to residents of Templeton to access when the building is open to the public or take any other action related thereto. Submitted by the Select Board on behalf of the Community Preservation Committee. Majority vote is required to enact the article.
Excellent. How you doing, sir?
Doing great.
How you doing? Great. How'd the drapes come out?
Awesome.
I'm sure they did. The work's going well, from what I can see.
It's beyond our expectations.
Excellent. Be having dances in there soon enough, right?
We dance in there every Tuesday night.
Okay.
Sound system's gonna be coming in pretty
Wow.
soon. We get somebody helping donate
Excellent.
and the second floor is pretty much done. Lights were going in today, actually. So they were working on the lighting for the second floor. And this article is requested for continuation of the work downstairs. Obviously with CPA funds, the handicap access is imperative.
Well, that's in the back already, correct?
What is,
The handicap access? The
yeah,
ramp?
yeah, but then bathrooms is imperative. So with this grant request, we're going to completely install literally everything from the street, plumbing, all the way into the bathrooms. It's as if there was nothing ever there. So it's from the ground up. And we've got a detailed list now of every single aspect of that project pertaining to the first floor entrance and the bathroom itself. So it encompasses a lot. When you start, say you blow in insulation and one wall, you want to get the rest of them done at the same time. So there's going to be some shared work to continue and save money. Working with CM Shady Contracting, we couldn't be happier. We're getting more out of them than anybody would have. They have their heart and soul is into this project. There's a lot of donated time. There's a lot of hours that are put in that aren't billed. And so we're going really well with the project, which is visual. You walk in there and everybody's mind is blown. It's like, I can't believe how nice it's coming along.
Chris is good people.
And of course, yes, and his team is just amazing. I've been since January. I think I've been there every morning at 7:30, 8 o'clock, getting the team started and getting everybody on track of how they're going to be working. So they're very nice to work with. And the subcontractors that are doing the insulation and the sheetrocking and the painting, they're all right on board with the project. And like I said, we're moving so quickly, it's mind blowing.
Excellent.
Very good.
This is going to take care of everything. Like I said, the first floor into the bathrooms. Both bathrooms will be accessible handicap wise. One will be labeled handicap. The other will be a family with a baby changing table and all that.
Yep.
But if handicap is needed, that second bathroom
Can be used as
is
well.
acceptable, you know, it will be compliant.
but won't be labeled, so.
Excellent.
And to clarify one of the points on this project, in November, I mentioned I was going after other grants and donations. And we've exceeded $100,000 on private funding and grants.
Impressive.
And donations to continue this project.
Impressive.
Our original goal was $287,000, and with the previous grants, the private donations, and if this was approved, will be about $30,000 short from that $287,000.
Wow.
So, and more money's coming in too. We've got 2 other foundations that are promising gifts to keep us on track. And every day, even the Lions Club started their golf tournament coming up, and we're going to be the beneficiary or one of the
spectacular.
beneficiaries.
Yeah.
So
Good.
the town is taking note, you know, and if I put out a request for donations, be it on social media or wherever, it kind of falls short, you know, and once in a while you get one guy here and one guy there that makes a donation. Using the CPC money lets pretty much everybody chip in, you know, because it's from our tax dollars and it's invested in this particular way.
Right.
And I couldn't think of a better way to spend historic preservation money than at the Narragansett Historical Society.
Excellent. All right, thank you.
Well done.
Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Have a
Yes, go ahead.
concern, ADA bathrooms, is there a ADA entrance into the building?
Yes.
Where is that?
Yes.
Backside of?
Yeah, it's on the backside where there's gonna be parking and entrance, there's gonna be a driveway.
So there's sidewalk going back there and everything,
It will
or
be as soon as we
plan
plan it.
to?
Yeah, right now there isn't because it's just contractors in there.
Yeah.
So it's
Ongoing work zone.
part of the plan, but we still implementing that. We're gonna be cutting trees down in the back, so we'll have better areas to park and we're getting closer to convincing the landowner to sell us that piece of property.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
We already have a foundation that's willing to pay any cost to buy that land.
Oh, wow.
So it won't cost anybody anything.
No kidding.
Private funding from the I'm not supposed to say the foundation.
Yeah. No,
Is the
no.
water, is the old water tower foundation still up back there too?
Yes. Part of the plan to use that land is to take those footings from the foundation of the water tower and put streetlights in there.
Ah.
And then by each streetlight, we can have like park benches or picnic tables.
Mhm.
So there'll be outdoor open space,
area.
enjoyable time.
Right.
When we have our dances, we can open the windows and the
Excellent.
music will go out.
Nice.
And people will enjoy the outside as well as the inside. We also have 2 companies who haven't answered my calls yet, but I have requests in to install an elevator for the 2nd floor. So that's coming up probably later this year,
Excellent.
and we'll try to find funding for that as well, because it's not going to be a
No.
freebie.
No.
No.
Good.
Well, excellent. Anything else for this article? Any other questions, comments?
Just a comment.
Yes.
We encourage anybody that wants to check it out to come down and take a look around and see what we're doing there.
Mhm.
A lot of folks have come in and as soon as they come in, they're very impressed with what we're doing.
Hmm.
And we just want to put that out there that people can set up an appointment and come down. Including coming to our main building, which we're open for the season now, be open 1 to 4 on Saturdays. We'd love to meet townspeople that may be interested in history and come on down and visit.
Excellent.
And that's open to anybody, but any folks in the room that want to come over.
John Henshaw came down with a surprise visit on a Tuesday night, and he was just amazed at how many people were there working. It was all volunteers. Everybody just shows up, and we were painting and staining and
Awesome.
cleaning and organizing and building. So without our volunteers, we wouldn't be this far advanced as well, you know. So it's huge.
That is huge.
Excellent.
All right, anything else on this article?
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
There been field trips from the elementary school over there yet, or?
It's closed for construction. You can't go in there because it's under construction.
No, I mean to the name,
So we do that third grade every year, yeah.
you do?
Yep.
Yeah, no other classes want to. Or have asked. I don't know why. You know, honestly, I don't know why.
I mean, the schools are all closed too. I mean, it's just. that's
Yeah.
walking distance.
I know, yeah.
It's funny that it's just third grade. That's
Sometimes
why.
things gotta be pushed from the top down.
Yes.
Not from the bottom.
Into the building was
Was-
when the old elementary school there was, I was in there, I think it was the second grade.
You went to school there?
You went to school?
I showed up.
Yeah, so we
But
do-
that was our first.
Wow.
And that's what everybody says. They went there as a third grader and now they're a parent and they have third graders. So the generations are there, you know,
Yeah.
so there's interest in it. And every
Good.
kid that comes through, they're just amazed and want to come back. And how many kids want to go to a historical society on a Saturday afternoon? You don't hear that too often, but we
Right.
hear it all the time,
How's the clock doing?
perfectly.
Great. Good to
Yes.
hear it.
Take it away. Tommy winds it.
Glad to hear it.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I wind it every time I walk in the building.
You're the
first
best.
thing I do is. I
That's
wind that
awesome.
clock. But I wanted to say, the nice thing now with the new school is kind of controversial as it was. It's the students walk over from the school to go. They don't have to be bused from halfway around the
Right.
town or
Yeah.
anything, so
I'm
that's
just gonna say they can walk
that's a
in.
nice thing.
Yeah, it's going from the old Baldwin Elementary School up was
Yeah.
kind of a
And that's,
cost effective.
that's usually in around May, I believe, is when they tend to come in for the tour.
That's all
Excellent.
right.
Well, hopefully we get some
Awesome.
more grade levels.
Bring the Boy Scouts.
I definitely will.
Bring the Cubs.
I'll send you a message.
There you go.
Any other questions with that article? Moving on, Article
Article 15.
15.
The Article 15, CPA funding for Town Hall cupola preservation and restoration. To see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $30,000 and no cents for the below mentioned project as follows. The appropriation of $30,000 from the Templeton CPA fund balance reserved for historical resources for the Department of Public Works in conjunction with the Templeton of Select Board for the preservation and restoration of the cupola atop the historically, culturally significant Town Hall building in East Templeton, or to take any other action related thereto, submitted by the Select Board on behalf of the Community Preservation Committee, and a majority vote is required to pass the article.
Mhm. Excellent, thank you. Any questions? Yes,
My concern would be, is that enough? Where, how did that figure arrive at?
So,
My reason I ask is, I believe 17 or 18, I think Carter was still here, the initial figure to replace that, replace it. Because I think there were some parts in the basement here, was around 80 grand.
82 to be exact.
yeah, that was
Yeah, I didn't go to school like you did.
4 years ago, when Carter was here. We hired the architect and a structural engineer to look into that project. And it's been proposed capital plan ever since,
Mhm.
and it actually was bothering because it was so high in price. So those prices are basically, the architect is from the Boston area, so he uses big numbers.
I gotcha.
Just the staging setup was 10
Mhm.
grand, which I had a hard time swallowing as well.
Really?
Yeah. So
Wow.
I reached out to a local
I was
contractor.
underpaid.
I gave him the report and went over it with him. He went up in the attic. That price is, actually, it was a little less. CPC gave us a few grand extra.
Mhm.
For, increase of any materials.
Good.
Right. Rebuilding it in place. And replacing all the rotted boards, paint, whatever it needs. It was 30 grand.
Wow, okay.
So I been going to CPC meetings off and on. And trying to keep them,
Mhm.
the project in their thoughts, because they had the same problem.
Yep.
Being so high in price. And so that's when I went out and reached out to the local contractor. Went over reports and came back with that figure.
Right, so if this gets approved at town meeting. What's the timeline looking like to
Well,
to
I'll have
start
to
this
go out to
project?
bid.
Yeah.
And so we're doing it right.
Of course.
And I'm sure that contractor will bid on it. Along with others, so whoever the lowest bidder is,
Off we go.
they'll have to go by the scope of work that was presented
Mhm. Okay,
in the project, so.
so you're looking like September, October?
If it gets approved. Yeah, I would say probably towards the end of summer, times they It gets wrong. I like to see it done before winter.
Okay, that was my question. Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any questions for Article 15?
Why?
That is a good question, but since we
Why?
have building and grounds, are we saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, why?
Why?
Why restore it?
Because it's right now.
Does it serve any
It- it-
functional purpose to the building?
It's a symbol to the town. It's like the capital of the town, many people.
I understand. It's just that some people may look at it as in a time of fiscal constraint, is it really necessary? I know it's historic, but is it functionally? Could we get something? I don't know what to say. I don't know how to put it. It's just why? What is there?
Well, you probably, for that price that you got now, if you take it off. And cover the hole on the roof and times you re-roof and everything, you're probably gonna be close.
There's an
to
actual
20.
hole up there?
Well, it's a vent shaft. The old
Changes
chair.
everything.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
Why?
That answers the why, Bob.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. You answered the why.
And the CPC funds are taking care of.
If it was just ornamental,
You
It
want, I
would
can
be a
dig up in the attic.
oh, no. There's all kinds of things up there I don't want to be exposed to.
Fair enough. It's dark up there.
I need the chief's breathing apparatus to get up there.
Hey.
One would make so.
You're good. Gotta call out gear too, because I'm not going up there.
Any other question with Article 15? See none? Okay. move on.
Article 16, CPA funding for resurfacing Gilman Waite tennis courts fencing replacement to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $139,500 and no cents for the below mentioned project as follows. The appropriation of $139,500 and no cents from the Templeton CPA fund balance unbudgeted reserve for the Department of Public Works in conjunction with the Templeton Parks and Recreation Commission to reclaim and resurface the tennis courts at Gilman Waite for the subsequent use for tennis and or pickleball and to replace adjoining fencing with appropriate chain link material or to take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board on behalf of the Community Preservation Committee, and a majority vote is required to pass the article.
Excellent. Candace,
Yeah,
it's good to see you. So are they doing hot top again? Is that what
Were
their
they?
plan is? Reclaiming hot top?
no,
Let me cover that, Ken.
Please do.
So the project was presented, the material that's here, including the hot top, just like I wrote, is gonna be reclaimed, regraded. And then they're gonna do new hot top, base coat and top on top of that.
Okay,
The reason, it's a specialty mix, so it's not like just going down the keys, you get 3/8 mix. It's almost like a burn mix, it's a little finer.
yeah.
And they'll put the base coat down, the top coat. And they're gonna, like,
Yeah.
I don't know if it was 2 or 3 coats of paint.
Mhm.
And it will be also lined for tennis and pickleball.
Mhm.
And we'll have the newest fence around it because the one that's on there now, actually the balls will get stuck in the fence.
Oh.
This will have smaller diamonds in it. With new posts and fencing and a couple of entrances to that.
Is that rejoined with the basketball court as well? Is that being done?
It'll
too?
be, no, it's nothing to do with the basketball court. It'll be next to the
I
basketball
got you.
court.
Okay,
And I think the only concern there is that, I mean, the basketball court was done how many years ago?
I think 2 or 3.
Yeah, and we're already seeing
Yeah.
deterioration on the basketball
Yeah, I
court,
mean,
so.
we first looked into trying to fix what's there, but the cracking's too much and it's not gonna, you're not gonna get the life out of it.
On the tennis ball, on the tennis courts, is what we're talking about now, yeah.
tennis court, it's too far gone.
Yeah, it's too
Okay.
far.
The
gone.
cracking is unbelievable. The fencing, even the fencing, it's rusted. It's in the boards and stuff. It's all popping. Like I find every day if I'm down there, I'll find a board with nails in it. They came off of it. I have to throw away.
Yep.
so is there also too like the poles for the netting and all that stuff as well?
Yeah, that's soup to stones.
I got you.
Whether you wanna play tennis or pickleball, it's a matter of just changing the netting.
Okay, I see. Do you play pickleball? I'm just curious.
I'm not into it yet, but I'm
Right.
sure.
If you move to Florida, Bob, you'll be in.
Well
The extra storage now, so the net will be able to be taken down for the winter and
And
be
restored.
stored.
Oh,
Yeah,
perfect,
we have
good.
that new conic, so
Yeah.
between the old one and the new one, we have plenty of storage up there.
Good.
Excellent.
Candace, there's big money in pickleball tournaments.
Yeah, there is.
People pay a lot of money to get in tournaments.
As soon as you told them, they were like, everybody's like, yeah, pickleball. But then I had people that said, we did a poll on the internet and we didn't know what would come up. And it was like, all of a sudden tennis. And we were like, what? And then it was pickleball. And there was a couple of people here like, oh, it should be hockey or something. And we're like, no, it's tennis and pickleball. So we looked into it and you could do both.
You
So we were
can.
like, why not?
Yeah, it's just a different set of lines, yeah.
So
Let me
there'll
tell
be
you.
sports, and you can either have a tennis tournament or a pickleball tournament.
Does
So,
anyone even play tennis?
That's.
Oh, yeah.
I like multi-use.
Yeah, that's all.
Beginning to end, that's you walking in and it's ready to use.
Multi-use is a good thing.
I mean, a lot of schools, right, and some of the schools have tennis teams.
Yep.
You know, Gardner has
Gardner
my
does.
friend's daughter's on the Gardner team, and I mean, so, and you're seeing, like in the commercials, you're seeing pickleball and you're seeing tennis in the commercials, so it's telling you they're both like really kind of popular, so.
That's
Could
great.
drive to Leominster to play pickleball.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
they have all
locals.
the court, yeah.
Yeah, they turned all the tennis courts in Leominster over by Doyle Field into pickleball courts.
Really?
Every single one of them, and they're packed
On Saturday.
Really?
all the time.
Really? Okay.
All right, any questions with
Who
that?
knew?
Article
People aren't
16,
complaining about the noise.
Article 16, any other questions, comments? See none, go on Article 17.
Article 17, property valuation account.
Thank you, Candace.
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds, or otherwise provide the sum of $22,500 and no cents from the FY 24 tax levy and other general revenues of the town to be spent by the Board of Assessors for full valuation, interim statistical updates, cyclical inspections, and the purchase of supportive upgrades, or to take any other action related thereto, submitted by the Select Board on behalf of the Board of Assessors. A majority vote is required to pass the article.
Right. Go ahead.
This is the annual appropriation to pay for the cost of keeping our property values up to date in accordance with state requirements. The Board of Assessors requested this article, and they'll be at town meeting to defend or present.
Yep.
And
Okay, no, I got you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Still term.
I noticed in going through the accounting report today that there's a lot of unexpended money in assessors. I'm sure it's a timing issue more than anything else. But there seems to be a lot of money that's unspent in that department. How does this article fit in with that situation?
I believe how they do it is they do a neighborhood at a time, how I understand it. And I believe why it's not all expended is it takes a while, if there's only a couple of them going out there doing it, to expend those funds down. It's a lot cheaper than contracting the service out. I know that.
So my question is gonna be is when, I'm sure that department did their annual budget. Why isn't it placed into their annual budget? Because I know it's an annual mandated event.
Well, that's why it's in the tax levy.
I got you. No, said, thank you. Anyone have any questions for this article? Okay, moving on, Article 18.
Article 18, fiscal year 2024 sewer department operating budget. To see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $1,440,723 and no cents to operate the sewer department for fiscal year 2024, and to meet said appropriation by a transfer of $16,148 and no cents from the certified retained earnings of the sewer fund, and the balance from the receipts and revenues to be collected on behalf of the sewer department for said fiscal year, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the Select Board on behalf of the Sewer Commission. A majority vote is required to pass the article.
Excellent. And this is their operating budget. Do you have it from the sewer department?
I think your sewer commissioner left.
He did.
How dare he?
He left. Okay. Anybody have any questions for this article?
And this is just aligned with the fact that the sewer department basically runs as its own entity. Their money comes in from their billing, and the certified retained earnings is the remainder left over then from this current year. So,
yeah.
And I do want to compliment them because they've been very good working with us. I know when you were the chair, we've had some difficulties in the past, but we're very fortunate now we're the sewer commissioners.
That's right.
Since we moved to the collections over here, we have a good working relationship. So
Yeah, I don't like going on to the poopy place. Really bad.
with DCTV, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus. I still remember that.
really?
Sure he does.
Okay.
All right, moving on.
Next.
Moving on, Article 19.
Article 19, fiscal year 2024 cable department operating budget. to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $222,300 and no cents to operate the cable department for fiscal year 2024, and to meet said appropriation by a transfer of $97,300 and no cents from the certified retained earnings of the cable fund, and the balance from the receipts and revenues to be collected on behalf of the cable department for said fiscal year, or take any other action related thereto. Submitted by the select board, a majority vote is required to pass this article, and this is the same thing. This is, they run their operation is run basically as an independent. They get their income, and then the 97,000 is their certified retainer earnings left over from the previous year.
So I work with Steve Castle on this. He's another one I work well with. This is something where, you know, in time, Steve and I were talking because the retained earnings are not where they used to be.
Yeah.
So continually, I know he's constantly looking for other revenue streams, and he's in streaming. He's with legislation pending there. He's looking at that. There's a lot of opportunities he's been looking at. So if there's any questions, or if you want Steve to come up, I'm sure he'll be happy to. Steve, you want to come up here?
I have no questions.
I have no questions.
Anybody have any questions for this article?
Stay away, Rusty.
Stay there.
Thank you.
But Steve and I worked on it, and I think he's satisfied with the budget.
Mr. Chair, I do have a comment I'd like to make while Mr. Castle is here.
Yeah.
I would like to have us invite Mr. Castle to come before our advisory meeting in May. And the reason why is that there are currently pending two bills before the state legislature, which may have an adverse impact on Mr. Castle's department. And I have spoken with him. He is willing to come to the meeting, but I think it's very important that we have a chance to listen to him speak about those bills and then make the appropriate recommendations.
All right. Can you just send that to me, and that way can I get on the agenda? No, that'd be great. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Noel.
Article 20.
Article 20, set the salaries of elected town officials. To see if the town will vote in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 108, to fix or maintain the salaries of certain elected officials for the fiscal year 2024 as follows. Town clerk, $72,000 yearly. Select board, each member, $3,750 yearly. Moderator, $500 yearly. Water commissioner, each member, $2,550 yearly. Sewer commissioner, each member, $3,000 yearly. Light commissioner, each member, $2,550 yearly. The water and sewer commissioners are paid for by an enterprise. The light commissioner is paid for by the light department. Or to take any other action thereto, this is submitted by the select board, and a majority vote is required to pass the article.
Any questions with Article 20?
Nope.
Any questions? Move to 21.
Article 21, funding for ambulance department operations. To see if the town will vote to transfer $534,500 and no cents from the fire department ambulance receipts reserved for appropriation to be spent by the fire chief to pay for the operation of the ambulance service within the fire department during fiscal year 2024, with any unexpended monies in the ambulance budget being returned to the receipts reserved for appropriation account, and with any unexpended balances in the receipts reserved for appropriation account being carried forward to the subsequent fiscal year, or to take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board, and a majority vote is required to pass the article.
Excellent. Any question on Article 21? Yes, Mr. Bennett.
Fiscal 23, this article, similar article from the ambulance receipts was 290,000. And I'd just like to know the reason for, it's almost a double increase in this budget.
From last year to this year? I
Yes.
got you. Chief? Oh, Adam?
Adam, chief, who wants to take this?
Well, the chief and I worked on the ambulance budget.
Mhm.
And you probably remember last year, I believe it was Mr. Forts who brought up, you know, the true cost of the ambulance budget should include a percentage of calls relative to the ambulance for the firefighter paramedics.
Right.
And you know, as a goal of the select board to continue to grow our public safety, and that goes way back to when you were there. So we've been able to grow that department from 4 to 6. This includes all the direct expenses like we broke out in this fiscal year's budget. But then we're also splitting the payroll for the ambulance portion of calls to cover the firefighter paramedics, because essentially, we're looking at it, the only way you're gonna be able to, and the chief and I discussed this, to grow this department is by breaking out the true cost of the ambulance budget and sustaining it through the ambulance receipts.
So this is a more true representation of what the ambulance budget really should be, because previously we didn't include payroll. It was all included under fire. Now the actual payroll for the ambulance and any calls is included under the ambulance.
Correct.
Okay.
And the
And
chief's
that's
here to,
based on call volume, I would assume.
It's it's call volume and duties performed, so.
Okay.
Call volume alone, the ambulance is greater call volume.
Yep.
But the other duties around the station and around the community bring it to roughly a 60-40 split with ambulance being higher.
So we have 60% ambulance calls versus 40% fire
Well,
department
not calls,
calls.
just calls and duties.
Calls and duties versus 40% fire calls and duties. Wow.
So when they like sign in for the day, how do you keep track as far as like, I did 4 ambulance calls, but then we had to do a fire at the, on the same day? How does
We
that,
took a generic split of and worked it in the budget where it would come out, so there wouldn't be any tracking it daily to say your hours are here, your hours are there.
Okay.
That would be nearly impossible. to
that was,
do.
yeah, that,
It was just try to get a representation of what the actual split of the duties came out to and try to make it a fair split between ambulance receipts and
What the heck was that?
See you later, bye.
He's gotta go.
so the chief broke it out.
Oh, was that him? Oh,
Great timing.
shoot.
For an intoxicated 38-year-old male.
ooh, it's not me.
It's early.
51.
Wow, early. All right.
5 o'clock somewhere.
Well,
All right, so any
for him, it's
questions for
been
the
5
chief?
o'clock for a while.
I just,
Hours.
I don't have a question as much as a comment. Comparable fire departments in the area have a minimum of 10 men, and I've expressed this privately.
Yep.
And I think, we have a drug rehab center that opened up in Baldwinville, and I'm sure they're responsible for a substantial number of calls. And I would just like to point out that, I think the town with the present, number of people is still leaving money on the table as far as the ambulance receipts. And while I don't know an exact number, I think I can guess that it might be in the neighborhood of $150,000. So if you had the proper number of employees, the actual number of your ambulance receipts, instead of being 534, 500, would probably be in the neighborhood of $700,000. And it's just a function of the number of people that we have and the number of people we have on each shift, and what the level of education or expertise there is with the responders. But I just want to point out, I think the chief does a very good job with the number of people that he has, and he allocates them very well, and he's grown the department. But you really need more men, and I think you can have 2 or 3 more men and pay their salary and pay their benefits and still have that covered mainly by the receipts.
The problem we have with that is you have to have the personnel to get the money to be able to retain the receipts.
Right.
So without the personnel, it's a couple of year process before you actually start seeing
The
the
dividend.
benefits
I
of
get
doing it. And we are seeing that now, with Adam's help and with Carter before him, we didn't look to take and kill the town with jumping from a couple of people up into, 10 or 12 or whatever may be needed. It was a steady, slow growth to get to where we need. And as long as the personnel are there, 2 on a shift, we are giving some calls away because we have to be at the hospital every time we send a truck to Worcester, an hour and a half round trip. And that's if we're not holding the wall in Worcester, waiting for a room and having a long turnaround there.
Yeah.
We're traveling to
Worcester, Leominster more often, taking our responders out of the area. We're pretty lucky, knock on wood, we don't really go to Boston that often style. When it's happened, I'll lose my crew for the entire day.
I was just gonna say that's a shift, yeah.
So, we are fairly lucky at that point, but eventually, yes, we need to look at staffing to help out, but we're.
I just want to offer, I think your
Right.
policy of slow, steady growth, I think you accommodate more people and really that's the way to go. And hopefully, the town will be able to add, more folks.
And I'd like to also commend the fire department or the fire ambulance department and the town administrator for putting this together the right way so that it shows what the true cost of the ambulance department really is, rather than, having some of the into the fire department. This is the way we should budget. This is the way that it should be reflective of the actual costs of the departmental operation. So thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you, but the real driving force was Mr. Bennett when he got on to really break out, and I'll give him credit on that. And he brought it up, I think, for a few years. I'm really breaking out the ambulance.
Yeah.
And eventually, and I got where he was coming from, but it was just a matter of being able to do it. And we had discussions with the select board, and that when we decided collaboratively to do this, obviously we worked with the fire chief and we were able to do it. So thank you, Mr. Rivard, for the comments. And it really was a group effort.
That's good.
Okay.
The AOS rates, chief, have you guys still keep an eye on those as far as how we're charging and all that stuff?
We, so our fire district, we go from Harvard on the eastern side to Athol on the west side. And yearly, as a district, we chime into each other and do spreadsheets to make sure of what we're doing and to make sure we're not one department or one area high and low and so forth. And we are still, and I would say we're smack dab in the middle to high.
Okay.
We're keeping competitive with everything else and trying to keep,
Excellent.
not lose any funds that way.
Great. Anyone else have any questions with Article 21? Okay, Article 22.
Article 22, fiscal year 2024 general fund operating OpEx budget. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,423,968 and no cents for the operations of the general government for fiscal year 2024, or take any other actions related thereto, submitted by the select board. A majority vote is required to pass the article.
Okay, any questions with Article 22? Yes, Jeff.
I'm just gonna swing that bat one more time.
Send it.
The budget that is presented is, in my view, is not truly a balanced budget.
Mhm.
In that it's gonna take free cash to balance it in several ways. One, we know.
Snow and ice.
snow
Oh,
and
nice.
Yep.
Two, we have the amendments
Mhm.
to, which we just did in 22, and we're
Yep.
doing,
Yep.
proposing it in
We're
this.
gonna go back in November, do it again.
Yep.
Back up the budget, and we have several years of history to show that we do this.
Mhm.
Ongoing. And the other is, if you look at the free cash sheets, certification sheets. This past fall, I forget the date, August 26, 2022.
Mhm.
That's the leftover money and unexpected revenue for 22 available in fiscal 23. We started out, the town had $1,918,702. We ended up having available to use $1,168,088. The biggest, the first deduction out of there is real estate receivables. That's the real estate tax that the town does not collect on an ongoing basis. And we are not the only town that
Yep.
has this problem.
Right.
Because the
No.
DOR suggests that if you have 96% collection, you're doing good. But, and the law allows it, and this is the screwy part of government that just drives me nuts.
Hmm.
It allows you to say,
100%
we have a
collection.
tax levy,
Yeah.
I'm making up numbers here. $10 million. So you go over in the expense account and you add up all your expense, $10 million. Boom, we're all even, Steven, except you don't collect that. So what happens is they deduct that, you gotta have that money somewhere. You either, even if you don't have free cash, it'll go on the tax recap sheet, and it'll be on next year's tax rate, because you gotta pay that money that you don't have,
Right.
that you spent. So last fall, it was $240,560. That was real estate receivables. That's one part of the deductions.
Mhm.
If you look in the 24 budget book, the top 2.5, the 2.5% that you're allowed to increase
Yeah.
each year is $290,778. And if you go back and you look at the sheets, each year, the receivable uncollectibles, the real estate uncollected.
Yeah.
Eventually, you'll do collected a few years down the road, and then it gets, unexpected revenue when it gets in the revenue side.
Right, but it doesn't help you the year that you need to use it.
It's just like.
Right.
But if you compare those two, the 2.5% increase each year is close to the real estate taxes receivable.
That we don't take
The
in.
only way to cure that is to, in my way, and we tried to do this a little bit, first time and that I can remember, to have excess levy capacity. In other words, if you have a levy limit of, making it up, $10 million, you budget like you have $9,500,000,
Mhm.
and you leave money on the table, so to speak, and you lose it for that year. But the next year, when you have a 2.5% increase of, say, 250,000, and you have, just an example, 500,000 excess levy capacity, next year you would have 750. So if the school comes in at, say, unexpected, or the state hands you a $300,000 minimum local contribution increase,
Mhm.
you don't have an emergency. You don't.
It's basically a savings account you can
because
use.
You have the money in the box.
Right.
But you would have to do this each and every year. You have to be disciplined, you have to make the hard decisions, you have to do without something. To leave a little levy capacity, otherwise you're just chasing your tail, and you are backing up your budget with free cash in 3 different ways.
No, I hear you.
And it goes against the advice of the DOR.
Yep.
They say you can do this, but then they advise don't do this.
Mhm.
And you get into the cycle that Templeton gets into. Where the money gets real tight.
Mhm.
And then it seems like, I don't want to say you get on track, but things get easy for a while, and it looks like it's getting better, and then boom. You get socked in the back door for whatever reason.
Mhm.
The same thing happens with state aid. If there's a budget thing or something, it's not in stone until you have the money. You know what they state tells you they'll give you in January, they're gonna give you 1/6. The latest cherry sheet, the town lost $8,000. That's what the number shows to me, that we lost in state aid.
Okay.
And if you're using 1.6 million in state aid, and you lose $8,000 out of that, again, it's not in stone, but I'm looking at the information I have right now, then your budget's out of whack by $8,000.
Mhm.
So that's, my concern with looking at the budget and going to town meeting with the numbers. And it's simple, but it's complicated, and people at town meeting, they see these numbers, they see this stuff happens with free cash and stuff, and it looks like what it is. It's not a true balanced budget.
Right. I understand what you're saying.
And I know Noel and y'all have been talking about, trying to make some moves or recommend things and stuff, which
Yes.
is good, but until we do that, I think, we need to change how we budget.
Right. Well, and like you said hard choices, and there's a lot of things out there that we need to understand. The majority of the taxation or dollars for the town, what does that pay? Do you know? You know what that pays? The majority out of the 10 million, it's a $7.8 million pays what?
Off the top of my head.
Salaries.
I don't.
So it's salaries. So we have,
And insurance and
so
benefits.
when you look at the amount of people that we have that work for the town, the majority of our budget salaries. I mean, so the only way you can cut
Labor.
is
right.
labor.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing you potentially cut. Now, yes, I know that every community, projects 100% collection, and you know that.
Yes.
They've been doing that
Law
for
allows you to do that.
150 plus years. They've been doing that. And Templeton's actually kind of fortunate. We've been on average around a 98% collection at the last time I checked, about 98%.
98, maybe 99, but again. The free cash, the done.
Yeah.
You're right.
Man, just goes,
But I want people to understand that, I mean, that 1.5% or 2%, we're looking at almost like $300,000 to $400,000. We're not, that's what we come to. So if you deduct, say, that $300,000 to $400,000 off the top of the budget, and we're already looking at a deficit for snow and ice come next year. How do you work that together without shutting down like whole departments?
and again, it takes fiscal restraint and some things you will have to. Do differently.
Well, if I could also,
What Prop 2.5 was intended to do more with less, become more efficient, more accountable.
Yeah, I
And,
agree.
There are different ways to do this.
Okay,
Uh,
we can talk all night on this,
Yeah.
you know that, but I'm just taking notes.
Off topic, there's a community in Georgia. They put all their services out to bid. They cut down on town employees. The roads got better, this got better, they had money for law enforcement, money for fire and ambulance. And they had more money to do for things like parks and this and that.
I got you. Okay,
But
thank you, Jeff.
It's a mindset.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yes, go ahead.
okay, so what you have in front of you, this was approved by the select board in a 4-1 vote. And it's the best budget that we were able to work and get through. And I want to also note too, when we do our revenue estimates, those are extremely conservative. We still have new growth at $70,000.
When was that new growth last year? Just curiosity.
Oh, over 100,000.
Okay.
100, and I don't have it. Actually, I do have it. It's right in your budget book.
Just guesstimate. I don't need to.
Well, I just want to be sure. I know when I was here before, if I didn't say the right number with Mr. Spring,
Listen, traveler's shirt.
142,000,
How much?
142,000.
Oh, wow.
So you're
Higher than
talking
you even thought.
Very high.
That's where that goes into our levy limit.
Okay.
Going into-
And let me ask this, also the, obviously it's not free cash, but the term free cash. Is all of it appropriated?
Almost all.
Almost all now? How much is typically left based on?
This is going to this town meeting. If everything's approved, well, around 3,200 left,
Okay.
rolling into free cash.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And when I say that too, this budget is a budget I'm pretty proud of because it does allow for a substantial, now we have Parks and Rec, they have their own budget.
Yeah.
You're looking at over $50,000 there. You have an increase in highway, police. A lot of these other departments, there's only a few that went down. But for the most part, it's a service level budget, as I was instructed to do by the select board.
Service meaning fire, police, ambulance, highway,
Correct.
council on aging.
Correct. And since I've been here, I'm proud to say that we've always had a balanced budget. You know, granted, you have snow and ice and like other communities do, and they close their deficit as well. And we always.
Well, it's balanced till at least then anyways.
Correct.
I got you.
And we never had a situation, our free cash has always been getting certified very early. And all of our departments, all of our employees, we were able to sustain, those services.
Yeah.
And essentially, when somebody makes a phone call in Templeton, they could count on getting a police officer or a firefighter, paramedic, or they call in potholes. I just actually got a compliment the other day. They put potholes in, they put the form online and they were out there the very following day.
Well,
taking care of it. So one thing about this town, I think we get pretty good services for the departments that should be actually even larger. But I think they do a fabulous job. They work hard each and every single day. Quite frankly, we don't pay them enough. Let's be real.
I agree. All right, thank you, Jeff. Good, I appreciate it. Any other questions on Article 22?
And this is a budget within 2.5 with no override. Since the school accepted
Yeah.
the number.
Big.
Do we ever plan on going away from a one vote budget
Uh,
instead of, right now, You're asking the town.
The omnibus budget that we do
the-
now is what we're trying to say.
Yes, the elephant in the room.
What do you mean? Like, you want to broke?
We
it
vote
down?
we vote on one set amount.
Yeah, one number.
So if there's something within the budget that townspeople don't agree on, but they agree on 90% of the budget, it's a take it or leave it.
Well, town meeting voted on that, Mike.
They did.
No, I'm just saying.
I mean, they voted on the omnibus budget part. They
The
didn't
omnibus
vote.
budget, yeah.
Yeah, I think you were here for that.
You hear what I'm saying?
I do hear what you're saying.
We're at a point now fiscally within the country, and it's just not here, it's nationwide. That I think people are getting tired of voting for a one-time thing. That I'm not gonna, I don't feel comfortable appropriating $10 million when there may be something in the budget that people don't agree with.
They split, I'm sorry. Can't,
It would have to be voted on by the town, but
for the,
They could, the question could be divided on the floor, but it has been tried and it has failed. And it was 2 years ago, I think.
separate something.
I want to say it was 2 years ago that a motion was made to divide the question and consider the operating budget as an omnibus budget. I'm sorry, as a line item budget. I apologize. And that motion did fail on the floor. So yes, there is a mechanism that it could be done. If you don't have your copy of town meeting time, get it, and the instructions are in there. But yes, it can be done, but it has not been effective in town.
Yeah,
I
they
see what
just-
you're
they
saying.
voted it down.
Yes, it was voted down on the meeting floor.
But the budget is
They
online.
had the choice.
It is online.
It has-
It's been online for, how long has the budget been online?
It's been online for at least a month
month and
now,
a half.
longer than that, yeah.
Month and a half?
Yeah.
So it's been online, so obviously,
TempletonMA.gov,
Yep.
it's all there.
all
You
the
know,
line
it's
items are there, all the
during-
budget, everything's there. It's
Yep.
like pretty good what's in there. And if there's questions, I mean, please feel free to email any of us
Yep.
on this committee. I mean, we will definitely take it up to where we need to take it. And
Absolutely.
if we need to put it on the agenda items, we can do that as well. Or if somebody wants to see some difference, such as you want to line in a budget, okay, let's,
Definitely turn town meeting into a 2-day event.
Roger that.
At least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you-
But I also want to note too, that from my proposed budget with the select board, I've made Vice Chair Curry made some adjustments to it. Put some additional funds into veterans,
Yep,
to
I saw that.
the Parks and Rec, and I believe the last one was top of my head. Those veterans,
Was it the insurance piece?
no,
No,
Parks and Recreation, and the last one was.
well, Adam's looking at that too, just as a note to the townspeople. There have been motions to divide that have been approved on the floor. It was maybe a year and a half ago at the special town meeting, there was a motion to divide an article regarding the advisory committee. That motion did pass on the floor, and then the article was considered as two separate articles as a result. So it's not impossible to do, but it's going to depend on the circumstances, whether or not it actually passes on the floor.
And the other one was, I don't know how I told it, but was to put more funds so we could get a grant writer.
Yes,
That was.
increase
third
the
one.
grant writer money. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So those
We
were the three
yeah.
departments.
make that salary more competitive. Right.
Excellent.
Gotta pay to get a good one.
Right, absolutely. Any
Yep, pay
questions
for
with
it.
Article 22? Anything else for 22? You good, Jeff?
Yeah, on the budget, yeah.
Okay. Article 23.
Article 23, fiscal year 2024 capital budget, rolling stock and improvements. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $180,268.00 toward a capital purchase and improvement as generally illustrated below. Department of Public Works, Building and Grounds, truck swap loader. And to meet said appropriation by a transfer of $180,268.00, easy for me to say.
I can see that.
From certified free cash or take any other action related thereto submitted by the select board, and a majority vote is required to pass the article.
Excellent. Any questions with this article?
Bob, what does this replace?
One second.
Right, currently we have I think, what was it, 12-year-old quad cab, 1 ton. That's well rotted out.
Okay.
Always breaking down. I don't need that.
You said that to me earlier.
That was for your benefit, not his.
Constantly
Jeez.
mechanical things going wrong with it, and it's actually not gonna pass inspection.
So this is to replace replace equipment that's at end of life.
And the small.
Maybe has been
blower,
for a little while.
Small blower is, it's gonna be a F-550. It's gonna have a hook on the back, just like a dumpster.
Mhm.
They'll be able to load up the leaf box, the dump body, the sander. It's gonna be a
Multi-purpose
multi-purpose
vehicle.
truck, just like the over the rail mower,
Yeah,
the
that's-
trackless we bought.
Yeah.
With one truck versus.
I was wondering what it was.
So
Okay.
it'll be great for our operation.
Put it in military term.
Thank you.
Save a lot of time.
Excellent. Okay, Jeff, you had something?
Again, my concern is. We have an article placeholder or not. Asking to use
70.
stabilization money
Yep.
to pay a reoccurring expense.
Mhm.
But then we're using free cash
For this.
for a piece of equipment.
Right.
And this ties into the financial management policy with regards to a capital stabilization fund. That the town will endeavor to maintain a balance equal to 2% of the prior year's omnibus budget.
Right.
You can use your calculator and figure out what that is, but again, you want to take money out of a general stabilization fund to cover a recurring expense, but then you're using the free cash to buy a piece of equipment.
Well, you keep saying recurring.
Recurring expenses, snow and ice.
Yeah, but. Okay, I see.
And
what
you
you're
try,
saying.
the article back there, 70 grand.
I remember.
General stabilization.
Yep.
And we asked, why is it split? Well, we got free cash for this, but we don't have free cash for the 70. And well, maybe we don't have to do that. Well,
Well, because they could take the free cash from the piece of equipment, but then they won't be able to get the piece of equipment. Is that correct?
again, this comes down to fiscal restraint and planning and following your policy.
You're absolutely right.
That's my point and my concern, and it's not I'm opposed to buying the equipment.
Yeah.
It's just the way it's
Being done.
going about it,
I got it.
and the snow and ice.
I got that too.
It's, again.
Where do we go?
Right,
Alright.
and
Right. No, I got you.
I think we're jumping ahead a little bit. I think this is Article 24, but we're on Article 23.
So
So
23.
yeah, we're still on 23.
Yes.
So I want to say, but since it's been brought up, Article 24, that was a recommendation of the Capital Improvements Committee.
No, Article. Okay,
The
good.
next one, it
Yeah.
was brought up that about the capital stabilization.
Right.
So I sent an email out to the chair and vice chair here and as well as the select board, because Bob and I actually had this discussion. Quite frankly, I think we need to review that policy because we're putting too much in our reserves when they're already healthy, or at least the OPEX stabilization is healthy. And adjust the OPEX stabilization number to lower that, but increase our capital number so we could keep up with all the capital needs we have. He needs 2 more 6-wheelers. And right now he's paying tons of money
Really?
to keep up with.
Yeah,
the
really,
bills.
John, and for the last 2-3 years, I've been telling your board, the select board. And everybody else involved, that when I first started, there was almost $700,000 in capital to get every department's needs.
Right.
And rebuild the departments.
Let me ask you,
Unfortunately, this year now we're down to 300,000. You can't buy blank. nothing.
Understood.
Yeah.
Housing.
Well
understood.
put.
So we need to get that money back in there, finish rebuilding the departments, and then you can put all you want in there.
The CapEx and the OpEx, I mean, obviously, those accounts are investment accounts, as we discussed before, correct?
Correct, that's why they.
So
were
the
buying
investment
2/3 votes.
percentage of return is how much? Just we know how much comes on the return on those ends? On the back end? Do
I
we-
believe they took a hit because the market had some.
Right, the
downturn.
market was off
I don't
this
have
year,
the
yeah.
percentage.
No, I get it.
I
can
think
take
we
a look at
reviewed that not too long ago.
We did.
Obviously, that's gonna be, I mean, because again, talking about Jeff's point. Obviously, we want the best amount, we want the best equipment for the,
Yeah.
for the work to be
I
done.
need
here.
safe equipment, not the best, but safe.
Okay, safe, I got it.
So what I'm saying is in May or June, I'm going to propose to the select board some adjustments in the financial management policy, because I think when it was first initially drafted, what do we have in stabilization?
0.
Nothing.
So now, because as government operations, we're healthy with our
Healthier.
OPEX stabilization,
And we're growing.
we could lower that number. We met the target for the OPEX stabilization and then focus more into our capital program.
So like any other policy, it's time to review it.
Correct.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Yeah, I also think the ARPA, because I sat on the capital improvements, it seemed like ARPA money was going to be directed towards DPW equipment and some of
The
the other.
plan that you guys propose is awesome, but we don't know if it's gonna happen until we find out about the bridge.
right, but the
So-
3 million from the state.
If the bridge, we
That's
don't
the-
get the money
that's
for
the
the
caveat
bridge,
right
then
now.
it's a total wash. I'm back to square one again.
Gotcha.
Because the ARPA money would have to go to the bridge.
Bridge. Bridge. Okay,
So the select board could be looking at adjusting policy and perhaps bringing, because Bob already presented the six-wheelers to capital.
Yeah.
So hopefully maybe we could do, I'll talk with the select board about it.
Okay.
Bring a six-wheeler for the fall, because remember, we're also gonna be doing the cruiser in the fall as well.
Right.
So.
Right.
And those have been all presented to capital.
You know, I've been asking for the six wheels since I started. And you gotta remember, those could be out 2 years.
Right, because of the supply chain issues
Time to
right
get
now.
the
it's
last
all
one, I'll
long
be
lead.
retired. You
No, you
know.
won't.
You're not anywhere near retiring, are you, Bob?
Not yet.
Okay.
Plus 3 years anyway.
Any questions with Article 23? Any other questions, comments? Article 23? Nothing? Okay, let's move on to Article 24, capital fund through CapEx.
Article 24, fiscal year 2024 capital funded through CapEx to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $69,241.00 toward capital purchases and improvements as generally illustrated below. DPW highway, software, work orders and asset management, $40,942. DPW buildings and grounds, mower, zero turn, $16,060. Parks and recreation, water reel device for irrigation, $12,239 for a total of $69,241. And to meet said appropriation by a transfer from the capital CapEx stabilization fund, the sum of $69,241.00, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board. Because this is coming from one of the stabilization funds, this requires a 2/3 vote by the town meeting.
Thank you. Any questions on this one? Comments?
Adam, is that software standalone? Or is it networking software?
Good question. You want to talk?
Is it a
about
standalone program or?
I believe it's standalone, but I'll be able to work off the cloud.
Ah.
What it's gonna allow us to do is manage town of Templeton much better than the way we are, instead of everything in my head, so if something happens.
Your head stops working and.
Somebody- If we get a complaint about a tree or a.
You're all day, folks. Rather be old.
You can turn that complaint into a work order and give it right to the guys. It's gonna give me the opportunity to manage the town buildings, what's been done, what's needed.
Hmm.
Do you get any software support with that?
Yes,
There's
they don't build it all up, they get us started.
Mhm.
And it's 3 years of service that we'll get from the company.
Get you guys functional and then you'll be able to continue from that point on.
So it's not like you're going down to Best Buy and buying office software.
No.
You're on your own.
Right, no, there will be assistance with it
Good.
Excellent.
and training.
Training.
I'm not sure if you had anything to say about the water reel for irrigation.
Yeah, we totally need it.
It's a hose, isn't it?
Yeah, it became like a giant sprinkler.
Yeah.
Yeah, the park needs it. When we had that drought, all that heat wave last year.
Bone dry.
Kept on crossing our fingers, but we didn't have anything. And then by the time we started the soccer season, you could see the damage that was done to the field because we couldn't water them.
What happened with the hydration system?
Then we did
Irrigation?
if
Yeah,
I
the
may,
irrigation system? Wasn't it irrigation?
Yeah, not
Yeah.
hydrate.
Was
we
it?
proposed
Well, whatever it
irrigation
is.
a couple of years ago, but.
Yeah.
Knockdown.
This is replacing the existing water gun that we've been using, which we actually couldn't use. With the existing piping that's here for the water gun right now. Working off the artesian well.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
That is the artesian well, not town water.
We'll be able to do it.
I have a well too.
Oh, well.
Jeez.
Definitely been here too long.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same.
And we're getting punchy, folks.
Any other question with Article 24?
Just have,
Yes, Jeff.
with this, water reel device for irrigation.
Yeah, we're just talking about that, yeah.
No, I mean, we've had one, we had an article for irrigation a couple.
Years ago.
Well, for $200,000. I want to know, has anyone thought about being more accountable, more efficient? Do soil analysis and research grass for playing fields that require less water and stand up longer. So when you play on them, the grass takes it. I know there was types of grass out there for those specific instances. Have we done any of that?
I don't think so. I think the school needs to do the same thing in front of the elementary school. Their grass doesn't grow there either.
It's been
Trying to
blowing
get
since
Grass
January,
is
so.
cleaned up
Turf
for
management.
use.
Yeah. All right, let's, that's definitely could potentially be another recommendation.
Part of that, if I may, part of that was done a few years ago by Gatsby Landscape. When we were talking about the irrigation, and it was a question raised about the soil at Gilman Way. He came out and measured the soil. There's 4 to 6 inches of loam and there's a gravel sand. You don't want to hold too much moisture for so long because it's gonna be too wet to play on. You gotta have drainage. Unless you get into artificial turf.
Right.
You put more clay in it and you water it. Yes, it'll be green, but it's gonna be mushy and too wet. They're gonna complain the field's still too wet.
Right.
Which creates injuries. and
Yeah.
Everything else, so. They said the soil's perfect. For what's over there, for what we're doing with the baseball fields and all of that.
Okay,
Irrigation's the problem.
okay, I got you.
All right.
Thank you, Jeff.
Is that report available?
I'm sorry,
Is that report available that?
I can look back in my emails, Jeff, and if I find it, I'll send it to you.
Because I'm gonna have some time on my hands and I'm gonna research this.
You are?
I think. I can't wait. Can you keep me in the loop on that, Jeff?
I'll come to your meetings a lot.
I appreciate it. You're sitting next to me. Anyways, going on to Article
25.
25.
Article 25, fiscal year 2024 special articles to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $18,930 and no cents toward a program of special articles as generally illustrated below. DPW highway street sign replacement, $7,500. DPW highway community sand pile shed, $4,500. Town hall building and grounds electrical panels, $6,930 to total $18,930. And to meet said appropriation by a transfer of $18,930 and no cents from certified free cash, or to take any other action related thereto submitted by the select board. A majority vote is required for this article.
Excellent. Any questions on this article?
Just out of curiosity, Bob, I know you've been doing the street sign replacement continually over a few years. How far does $7,500 get you?
Not very far.
I didn't think so.
Posted steel. We're actually working on the third phase. We have to finish the second one. We ran into frost and then. So I do have some more to put out.
Are you down by Main Street now?
Main Street back, Graves Development.
I got you.
Working my way over towards Otter River.
Okay.
Otter River will be nice.
Those will be getting done shortly. We still got. A lot of brush to pick up and potholes are kind of behind. With the storms that we had.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
And this will get us. Originally, when I first priced the whole town, it was about $85,000.
How many phases total? You said you're on phase 3,
Yeah.
or you're finishing phase 2, going to phase 3, I should say.
I still gotta spend 23's money.
Yep.
I already got the list started. Once I submit that, and it'll be billed before the end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, there's probably another 4 or 5 spaces to go.
Okay.
It depends how much the steel.
Right.
and everything keeps
Yeah.
going up.
Yeah.
We did get I haven't looked through the stockpile yet, but a truck pulled in and dropped off a bunch of U-channel signposts and a bunch of signs and different highway separating and stuff, and I thought it was maybe to do with the roundabout. And it was Templeton DPW's address and MassDOT. They called District 2, try to find out what's going on. Just got a phone call today that they got a grant, each town's getting a little pile of steel and signs.
Oh, nice.
That's nice.
But they gave us the wrong signs, but they already came back and switched them out.
Oh, good.
so.
Okay,
Excellent.
that's good. All right, well, that helps.
Any questions?
Thank
with
you,
this
Bob.
article? I see none. Article 26.
Article 26.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
before it's read, I wish to recuse myself from consideration of this article.
Okay,
Okay,
And then also on this article, remember, this is also
You can still
the
say it's
municipal
okay.
funds for the hazard mitigation grant that we talked about earlier.
right.
That'll be the amended motion. Or the new motion, I should say.
okay, Article 26.
Yeah, right. That's the money that's coming out of Article 2. Okay. Article 26 to authorize lease, yeah, that's going into the special articles. Article 26, authorize lease of a tanker for the fire department to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $97,789.78 to pay for the first year of a 5-year lease for a tanker for the fire department, with said lease not to exceed $488,949.90 in total, including provisions for an early payoff without penalty and a $1 buyout upon the conclusion of all regularly scheduled lease payments, and to authorize the select board to enter into a contract with the lessor containing the said terms and conditions, or to take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board, and this is a 2/3 vote required to pass. This is replacing a piece of equipment, Chief Dickey, that is decommissioned and not usable, I believe, correct?
No, this is off of our tanker that is 30 some odd years old. now.
Oh, geez.
Before, that is still in operation and it is a on the road tanker
Okay,
that we're looking to replace.
this is to replace with a 4-wheel drive vehicle, isn't it? Did I remember correctly?
No, the
Or is this
four-wheel
just a
drive
straight
is
one?
a brush truck.
That's the brush
only.
truck. That's a different one. Okay.
That was a different one. This one here would, the vehicle that we spec is actually 4-wheel drive. So it would be, could be slightly new purpose. It would have 2,000 gallons of water. And with the 4-wheel drive, it would be more capable of being used in the inclement weather safely. And also on some off-road capabilities on very hard packed trails that were already, roads that are out in the woods and stuff. They really couldn't go out into a field or
Right.
anything like that, but.
Okay,
So this is an additional piece of equipment.
It'll be
replacing.
not an additional, it's replacing.
It will replace the 30.
30 some odd.
It replaces the 30. Just making sure.
Let's hope
Go ahead, Jeff.
Have this one.
We'll have it longer than we'll have me.
All right.
Okay, my concern about this article is, we have a lease on the books already. I think it's 92,500. I think it has one more year. It'll be paid off fiscal 2021. This was started, when town administrator was Catterton, and as it was presented, the capital and the town meeting and to the board at the time, board of selectmen, was you would have that one lease, cover that piece of equipment. When that was paid off, that amount would stay in play
Mhm.
for the next piece.
Next
of
lease.
equipment. And so here we are, gonna have 2 leases, even though it may be a year, there's 2 leases on the books at the same time. And as the fire chief was asked about, the replacement of the 2014 town ambulance, the response was, we have one more, with 2 more years on the ambulance, the newest ambulance lease. And the idea is to get one lease paid off before we start another one. But here we are going against what was put out several years ago. And again, it's fiscal discipline,
Yep.
it's planning, and you want an increase, be able to increase the snow and ice budget to try to get away from things. Well, there's the money to do it,
Yep.
but you don't stick with a plan and you don't have fiscal restraint. And that's how you get all off track.
Chief.
And that's my concern with the lease. And then you have to find this money next year and the next year, or however long the lease is, you gotta find that money each and every year.
Chief,
And it's just,
knowing that the current tanker is 30 years old, what is the effect on your department if this were to wait 1 year?
Well, we're already at the point now that we're probably close to 2 years, if not more, from the date of order. So to get the new truck, I can't even say what it would be if we wait 1 more year out.
It's not like waiting.
Oh, I know, I know, there's the lead time on this as well. I understand
At
that.
least a 24-month.
I know, there's a lead time on this as well. That's why.
This piece still in operation for the next 2 years, waiting for the new truck to come in.
So,
Which
so
will
on top of that, we'll be
be-
paying, so on top of that, we'll be paying on a lease that we're not gonna have a vehicle for a
Right.
little while.
Yeah, there's no
Never worked
bike
that
that
way.
Yeah. No, I know, there's lead time on this stuff. I understand that as well.
I see, so that's why it's here now
Yep.
versus.
Mhm.
Okay,
Adam? Do we have any other leases coming off the books this year?
So what's gonna happen for this fiscal year, right? We're going into fiscal year 2024.
Yep.
And the engine's falling off, right?
Okay,
So this would come out of free cash
okay,
for the first year.
Mhm.
So when you're in 2024, you're having that come out of free cash, and then you have the engine lease.
come on.
the engine will come off
And
and
then
this
that
will
will
replace the
replace
engine
the other one
in the fire
general-
departments.
General fund,
Yeah.
correct. And I,
Do we, when we sign the agreement for the lease, we don't pay until receipt, is that correct?
There's multiple ways that can be done. To bring costs down, we can make a payment prior to for the chassis. And then that starts always payment earlier. So the nuts and bolts of that haven't been ironed out as well.
Well, there's a way to reduce that first year payment.
And I'm also trying with we're looking at with the fair purchasing and everything, using the same company, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, Houston Galveston bid list, for purchasing, and I'm looking at the same manufacturer as our engine. So they have a few different options, and I'm actually still even talking with them about trade-in. They wouldn't give me any trade-in values until we look at signing paperwork. So I'm still hoping to gain something as a trade-in on the current one we have.
Yep.
I don't think it would be much, but
Every little bit counts.
it helps.
Just curious.
All right.
Okay.
Any other question with Article 26?
I found out the confusion here.
Oh, go ahead.
So on the article, should say 97,789.78 from free cash to pay for the first year. That's where the confusion is. Okay. Good thing you brought that up. So we'll just
Oh,
have,
yeah, you're right. It doesn't say that in there.
yeah. So good thing you brought
Yeah.
that up.
That's gonna have to be amended on the floor.
Well, the motion, the select. board will
motion-
have
the select board will
motions
have-
and
they'll
just-
read the
it'll be
motion,
in the
okay.
Voter's guide like that.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. You're right. That doesn't say that in there.
No,
Good-
but so,
good
yeah,
call.
good thing I was like, there's something that puts off.
Something's off here. Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that doesn't allude to the fact that Jeff, go ahead.
So are we already spending free cash that hasn't been certified yet? Is that the
No.
plan?
Your free, this is coming out of your free cash. It's already accounted for in the budget. The 97,000 anyways, out of the budget.
So again, so we had 70,000 free cash to cover snow and ice, so we wouldn't have to take money out of general stabilization.
Yep, you're right.
It is. No, you're right.
No, you're right.
You're right.
I mean, the flip side of it, we don't take care of this, right? The fire department.
No, we
needs to
know what,
take care.
we understand what the ramifications
Year
are.
delay, which
To
is really
include,
2 to 3 years
You know,
delay.
insurance rates, fire rates,
Yep.
so we get it all.
Yep.
Because again, it's got a 2-year, potentially a 2-year lead time from the date of order to the time of receipt is about 2 years, and you're still gonna be dealing with a 30-year piece of equipment.
Yep.
I mean, it's definitely, it's like that balancing act that you got to balance every day. It's not like you're balancing your checkbook at home. It's not like that when you're balancing a community and the safety of the community. All right, so any other question with Article 26? Article 27.
Article 27, Montechusett Regional Vocational Technical School. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $588,189 and no cents as the amount assessed upon the town for the fiscal year 2024 assessment by the Montechusett Regional Vocational Technical School District for the purposes of educating and transporting the town's enrolled students and capital and debt expenses provided. However, that any stated amount shall be reduced to any lesser amount, which shall subsequently be certified by the school committee and certified to the town for fiscal year 2024, or take any action related thereto, submitted by the select board on behalf of the Montechusett Regional Vocational Technical School District. A majority vote is required for this article.
Excellent. Any questions with Article 27? Article 27? Any questions?
And I spoke with the superintendent or the superintendent's assistant, and they'll both be at the town meeting.
Excellent.
They couldn't make this meeting, so.
It's okay.
So
I would assume because they have so many communities that they,
Yeah,
They already presented it to us.
they have to provide 13, 14, 15 communities or something like that. It's a lot, yeah.
Article 28,
Article 28, Narragansett Regional School District, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $7,692,433 and no cents as the amount assessed upon the town for the fiscal year 2024 assessment by the Narragansett Regional School District for the purposes of educating and transporting the town's enrolled students, provided, however, that any stated amount shall be reduced to any lesser amount, which shall subsequently be certified by the school committee and certified to the town for fiscal year 2024, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board on behalf of the Narragansett Regional School District. A majority vote is required for this article.
Article 28, any questions, comments?
and Mr. Chair, I want to thank the
Sure.
leadership here as well as the select board's leadership. Because this was we got under a time crunch, so I only had to work with a couple of you in both because of open meeting law.
Mhm.
I didn't want any type of issue there. But I'm very satisfied with Dr. Cassavant and working with the school committee, and I thank them for working with the town on this.
Mhm.
So we didn't get into battle of the budgets. I think
Excellent.
that's important for the community.
Yes, it is, very much so. Any other questions, comments? Excellent. Moving on to Article 29.
Article 29, amending the Narragansett Regional School District Agreement. To see if the town will approve the amendments to the Narragansett Regional School District Agreement as recommended and approved by the Regional School District Committee, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the Select Board on behalf of the Narragansett Regional School District School Committee. A majority vote is required to pass the article.
Any questions on this?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's send it.
Okay. I'm going to read from the proposed agreement. So
Mr. Chair, if I could jump in
Yes.
before Mac starts.
Yes, go ahead.
I do want to say, I believe there's probably going to be an amendment on this at town meeting, so.
Who's bringing the
what's the
amendment?
amendment and who's it being brought by?
I just believe it's going to be relative to the capital costs.
That's just exactly where I was
Okay.
about to go.
All right, let's,
So-
I mean, because basically it was a 4-1 vote from the select board to put it on the warrant. That would be my guess. I can't speak to anything further because that's in discussions with the leadership of the. select
Yeah, no,
board.
because that's exactly what I'm about to fire on.
well, Desi makes a lot of changes to that as well that I
Yeah.
don't believe they should have made.
But yeah, the select board are aware and
Okay. And I think that,
I
yeah,
think you're all on the same page.
Okay, great.
so,
One second. Yes.
What were the nature of the changes that Desi made from your understanding?
It was just,
of
it was,
the
it was, legalese verbiage that
Yeah.
really didn't make any sense.
Might harm the town.
Definitely puts the town in a different position that it doesn't need to be, especially when it costs, when financing and stuff like that, but I can't, I mean, we can. Have you read the agreement?
I have, but it's been some
Okay.
time. I haven't read the final.
Can you send that out to me tomorrow?
Oh, it's in the budget book.
the agreement's in the budget book.
It's in the budget.
It's in here.
Yeah, I read.
It's in here, section 8.
That's what the DESI changes.
That's what
Yeah.
the Desi changes.
I believe there should, if you look in the budget book, I believe there's 2 versions of the agreement in the budget book. One that has the DESI changes, the deletions in yellow and strike through and the additions in red. And then the other is just the clean document.
Right.
Okay,
May I suggest to the board, I mean, I think you're all on the same page, so like, accepting it with the propose this for your consideration, of course.
Mhm.
Accepting the agreement as proposed, but amending the capital portion.
so yeah, it's like, because
Capital
my
debt
comment was
portion.
going to be that accepting the agreement as proposed in my mind poses a potentially unfair financial burden on the town of Templeton. With regards to the fact that Phillipston students do attend Templeton Elementary School. It is with regards to the capital costs. Basically, the way this thing is written, any capital cost over $15,000 is the sole responsibility of the town of Templeton, and Phillipston has no responsibility for it. And again, Phillipston students do go to Templeton Elementary School at this point, and to my knowledge, there is no plan in sight for that to change anytime soon. This is more about equality of cost apportionment between the towns. If something big has to be done to that school, and Phillipston students are going to that school, then Phillipston needs to pay their fair share of that assessment.
It's an issue of
So-
fairness.
Yep, no, that's exactly where I was going with it.
Okay, so
So-
that's Article 29. Any other
That is
questions?
Article 29, and having said that, with, as presented, my vote on the Article 29 is going to be no. As presented with amendment, assuming the amendment is gonna be a bit more equitable between the two towns, then the vote may change, but as presented, my vote is no.
Okay, moving on to, any other question on Article 29? Article 30.
Article 30, accept layout of Laurel View Road as a town way, to see if the town will vote to accept Laurel View Road as laid out in the as-built plan approved by the select board and filed with the town clerk on January 30th, 2023, as a public way pursuant to chapter 82, section 23 of the Massachusetts General Laws, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board. A majority vote is required to pass the article.
Yes. What's happening now? Did they
So
get the road to standard?
It went through the whole process. It went to the planning board, it went to the select board. It was approved. We worked with town council on this. And Colleen, how many years have you been dealing with this?
5, 6.
18.
Oh, geez,
I've only dealt 5.
close.
But I can tell you, the
Close.
original Laurel View slide, I think I still have somewhere.
Oh, really?
I can remember.
We have that back so we can put it up.
At the select board, my name is Colleen
Here,
Fair,
you can-
resident of Laurel View. This debacle actually started in 2005.
Mhm.
The planning board accepted the road then, and the select board signed off on the road. And it was heading towards town meeting, just like where we are today. And something fell. To this date, there's lots of stories behind it, but nothing concrete to prove one way or the other. And so the road was becoming a mess at 2018. So it's been probably 2016, I called to get a pothole filled.
Yep.
And I was told that, no, it was a private road,
Can't do it.
even though they had been doing it up until then, you know. 2018, we received notice that DPW can no longer plow us
Yep.
due to the condition. So we added $25,000 to bring it up so he could plow and do his thing. And then, you know, the road is just deteriorating again, and we're fixing it and putting it together. Thanks to, we came to a meeting, another resident and I, in I forget when. Anyways, we found a way that Laurel View could be approved, and it was through the bylaws
Mhm.
of the town of Templeton, and we did the whole process. We presented our case to the select board. We went to the planning board, back to the select board, through town council, just to make sure everything is okay.
Yep.
And here we are. So with the town voting yes to accept our road, it puts to bed an 18-year debacle. I mean, Laurel View was never meant to be a private road.
It's this, and you at this point have now T's are crossed, I's are dotted, everything's
We're
ready to go.
actually, on May 5th, we're putting in another $5,000 to fill up our potholes. So we can go to the town meeting saying, okay, you know, we're not the best road
Right,
in Templeton, but we're certainly not the worst.
Yeah.
Um,
and you're doing your due diligence to try to, you've done your due diligence to this point to try to at least maintain it until this process could get its way through the.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Mr. Lamontagne, does the DPW, Mr. Sosek, who's not here right now, is he amenable to this?
Well, Mr. Sosek has some concerns. I mean, to get it up to the standards, there's concern there, absolutely. But I'm looking at it from the standpoint of, you know, they're all taxpayers up there. They went through the process. The select board supported this. The planning board has supported this. Town meeting be basically accepting it on the waiver, right? Of
Yep.
one of the conditions.
Yep.
If it was C, I forgot which section that they're waiving at the top of my head. But there is waiver process that they have to go through. And there are costs associated, absolutely, but I mean, to be fair, you know, they're all taxpayers up there. They know they're not gonna get the whole road redone.
Right.
They're aware of that.
Right, nobody's expecting a brand new road.
Mm.
By accepting, we just want to be treated like the rest of the town.
You want your road plowed.
You want your road plowed,
We want our road
Yeah.
plowed, we don't want a guessing game every year.
you
whether
want
our
your road
roads-
plowed, you want your potholes filled.
I feel your pain. I lived on a road in Hubbardston for 12 years that was not town accepted. And it was originally built, the subdivision was built with the understanding that the entire subdivision, that 3 roads surrounding it, would be accepted by the town within 3 years.
Right,
And it took until 2 years ago for the town to accept it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hear your pain.
yeah,
I mean, the potholes and the neighbors getting together to fix potholes
Yep.
and sharing cost of a private plow truck to come in and plow your street, and you're paying taxes to the town. You're paying
Right.
property tax for, what are you getting?
right,
You're not getting the same service as the person 2 streets over.
that's right.
Yeah, you got public safety issues too. Following them.
Yep,
So yeah, Colleen's been basically kind of the spokesperson for Laurel View, right?
yeah,
I think the neighbors designated you.
yeah.
So,
All I'm told.
So I remember
Oh, that
property
works.
lines used to end at the middle of the street. Has that all been addressed as well?
They looked through all the as-built plans, town council reviewed all of them.
He did.
Then
Yeah.
he spoke with the engineer Conrad.
Was the
He's not in
builder.
Business anymore.
No, not under that name.
No, he's not.
He's in business in Gardner, he's building.
Right. But my concern was gonna be
Yeah, the
With-
planning board had that concern too, and I think that all those issues were resolved.
The engineering report, they did another engineering report to check all the pins and.
the
all-
property boundaries.
Yeah, and it was fine
So it stops at the sidewalk? Or does it go to the street?
until the town takes it.
Because it's still got to be conveyed to the town.
Yeah,
Yeah, because all those properties have to have an abatements done. And who's gonna be doing all the abatements?
Well, everything from town council and the engineer speaking, everything lines up. And the planning board discussed that as well.
It's gotta be something with the name, because one of the streets was named Laurel Street in Hubbardston. I lived on Dogwood,
Nice.
Plain, and Laurel Street were the 3 streets that were supposed to be accepted
Okay.
by the town and never were. It's gotta be the name.
I don't
So
know.
if anyone
Stop calling things
that
Laurel.
wants to move to Laurel Street anywhere in any town,
Don't
and
do
it's
it.
not accepted by the town, don't move there,
Nice.
because it's bad.
Any question, anything else for Article 30?
Just,
Yes,
to reiterate, this has been going a long time, and like Ms. Fay stated. And there's minutes in the town clerk's office to back this up, that it was going to town meeting, and some engineer report got read by the board of selectmen, and it didn't go.
It died.
And years after that, 2010, 11, somewhere in there was safety concerns brought by the fire chief to the board of selectmen about the potholes and condition of the road, even when they plowed it. And so the town went down there according to state law and did some minor repair work
Yep.
with public funds on a private road, so the ambulance could get down there, so it could get plowed. At one time, they had one long-time DPW employee who would plow that road because he knew where this grade was sticking up and where this was, and that was there, and now he is gone. And these people have been working a long time, and it's not like it was a dirt road and there was 3 or 4 people, living there, and how come we can't get our road accepted? This is a road that was laid out and built to standard at the time, and the town dropped the ball, and these residents have been trying to get their road accepted the way that it
Should have been.
in front of town meeting,
Yeah.
the way it should have been originally. And the road is not gonna go to the top of the list, it all rebuilt like some people think, with a brand new sidewalk and drainage and all of this. And that's not what these residents, who I have spoken with and met with and looked up stuff for them and tried to help them in any way I could. That's not what they're expecting. That's not what they want. They want what they were told when they moved there. Like you said, It was gonna be a town accepted road,
I got you.
and they've been
Fighting ever
finally gotten
since.
to the point where it's up to town meeting. Their representatives have done all they can for them. It's now up to town meeting. And I believe that all the residents are gonna be there to make their case,
Good.
and what happens, happens.
Excellent.
But it's just, it's where it should have been a long, long time ago, and it's due these residents.
Understood. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other thing with Article 30? But none. Article 31?
Article 31, establish opioid remediation stabilization fund. To see if the town will vote to establish an opioid abatement stabilization fund in accordance with chapter 40, section 5B of the Massachusetts General Laws, to be used upon further appropriation for the purposes of implementing the abatement strategies set forth in the Massachusetts State Subdivision Agreement for state opioid settlements dated March 4th, 2022, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board. A 2/3 vote is required to pass this article.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
it appears that these 31, 32, and 33 are very closely related.
They're all related. There's,
Perhaps they can all be read at once.
I can do that if you
I
would
have
like.
to read each one individually.
Or you do.
Okay.
Any question with Article 31?
This is basically to establish a fund, because right now they're just going to the general fund. We've been keeping track of them. So once we establish this fund, and then the other two after would be to establish it, and then the other two after it, get it secured where those funds go directly right
Yep.
into this. Because it has to be used for opiate purposes.
So where's the money coming from?
The settlements.
Okay,
Remember you
Yep.
signed, I think you signed that when you were on the board.
I did, yeah. I know, I just want to make sure that people are aware of that.
Oh, is that what you?
That was the question, yeah.
That settlement was signed by
Yeah.
then Attorney General.
It's actually funny
Or
though that
ideally.
you say that because one of the attorneys called, remember, and he's like, you signed the thing with us. And finally you found the document, it had your signature on it, and we were looking, remember?
Nice,
It's just a side note.
right. Okay, anything with that, anything else with Article 31? No, moving on to Article 32.
Article 32, accept fourth paragraph of chapter 40, section 5B. To see if the town will vote to accept the fourth paragraph of chapter 40, section 5B of the Massachusetts General Laws, which allows the dedication without further appropriation of all or a percentage not less than 25% of particular fees, charges, or receipts to a stabilization fund established under chapter 40, section 5B of the Massachusetts General Laws to be effective for all fiscal years beginning on July 1, 2023. This will allow the town to take the action described in Article 33, or to take any other action related thereto submitted by the select board, and a majority vote is required to pass the article.
Excellent. Any questions with this article? Article 32.
Article 31 is step 1, Article 32 is step 2, Article 33 will be step 3. Article 33, dedicate receipts from the statewide settlement. To see if the town will vote to dedicate all or a percentage which may not be less than 25% of the receipts from the statewide opioid settlements as defined in the state subdivision agreement for statewide opioid settlements to the opioid abatement stabilization fund established in accordance with chapter 40, section 5B of the Massachusetts General Laws, effective for the fiscal year 2024, beginning on July 1, 2023, or to take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board. A 2/3 vote is required for that article to pass.
Excellent. Any questions with Article 33?
No. Right.
Excellent.
Now, at this point, do we close the
Yes.
town meeting? Okay,
I'll entertain a motion to close the pre-town meeting.
so moved.
Have a second?
Second.
That motion is second. Any other discussion? I see none, Mike? Yes. No? Matt?
Yes,
And I vote yes as well.
and now we gotta go.
I'm going right to the recommendation at this point.
Okay,
I'm gonna start with Article 1. What is your vote, Mike? Yes.
this, can I clarify real quick? That this motion, that this is to, these motions are to recommend the article to be passed by town meeting.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was clarified.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Article 1. Mike, how do you vote? Yes? No?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes,
And I vote yes as well. Article 2, Mike, how do you vote? Yes. No?
Yes.
Matt?
yes,
And I vote yes as well. Article 3. How do you vote, Mike? Yes. No.
Yes.
Matt?
No.
And I vote no as well. Article 4. How do you vote, Mike? Yes. No.
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article 5. How do you vote, Mike? Yes. No.
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article 6. How do you vote, Mike? Yes. No.
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article 7. How do you vote, Matt? How do you vote, Matt?
Oh, okay. You you changed the order. Yes.
Keep it on your toes.
Trying to keep you awake here? What? Yes.
Mike? Yes. No?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article 7. How do you vote, Mike?
You're on Article 8.
I'm sorry, Article 8. Sorry, I missed one, sorry.
Yes.
Article 8. Thanks, Mike. No?
Yes.
Matt?
Present.
Roger? How do you vote? You just did. Oh, did you?
I just voted present.
Oh, okay. And I vote yes as well. Huh? Did I do that right?
Yeah, I voted present. Basically, I abstained.
Oh, okay.
I abstained.
Oh, it's so nice of you. You kind of got me off guard there for
Yeah,
a second.
sorry.
That's okay.
Gotcha.
Hey, I went to public school, relax.
I know, yeah, I did too.
Article 9. Article 9.
Went to Gardner Public School.
Mike, how do you vote? Yes. No.
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article 10. How do you vote? Mike? Yes. No?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article 11, Mike? Yes. No?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article 12. How do you vote, Mike? Yes. No?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article 13. How do you vote, Mike? Yes. No?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article 14. How do you vote, Mike? Yes. No?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article 15. How do you vote, Mike? Yes. No?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article 16. How do you vote, Mike? Yes. No?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article 17. How do you vote, Mike? Yes. No?
Yes. Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article 18. How do you vote, Mike? Yes. No?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article 19. How do you vote, Mike? Yes. No?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article, what am I at, 20?
Yep.
Article 20. How do you vote, Mike? Yes. No?
Yes.
Matt?
Present.
And I vote yes as well.
In the voter's guide, are we gonna record that sorry,
301.
Mr. Chair?
301.
Oh, because I was just gonna do 3-1 present. Does that
Would be
work?
3 yes, 0 no, 1 present.
Oh, okay, I'll do it that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
3 yes, 0 no, 1 present.
Okay, I just want to make sure for the guide.
Yeah, thank you.
Good call.
Article 21. How do you vote, Mike? Yes. No?
Present.
Okay, Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article 22. How do you vote, Mike?
No.
No.
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article 23. How do you vote, Mike? Yes. No?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article 24. How do you vote, Mike? Yes. No?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article 25. How do you vote, Mike? Yes. No?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Article 26. How do you vote, Mike? Yes. No?
Present.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article 27. How do you vote, Mike? Yes. No?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article 28. How do you vote, Mike? Yes. No?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Article 29. How do you vote, Mike? Yes. No?
Yes, as presented. Yes.
Article 29. You voted what? I'm sorry, say it again.
Yes.
Matt, how do you vote?
No.
And I vote no as well. Article 30, how do you vote, Mike?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Article 31, how do you vote, Mike?
Yes.
Matt, no,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Article 32, how do you vote, Mike?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Article 33, how do you vote, Mike?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. And as we voted last business meeting to have our recommendations accompanied with the Board of Selectmen on the sheets, that way it'd be easier all one page, that way everybody can see what the select board recommendations were and what the advisory committee's recommendations were.
Save taxpayers money.
That too.
Obviously try to save some dollars, yes.
So for the split votes, there'll be something on either side.
As far as the numbers, you mean? Or do you want-
Identify why for yes, why for no. and-
We typically don't do stuff like that and we never did. If you want to do something with if you want to say, if you had a no vote. Then if you want something written, just send it to me. And then I can get it to the Board of Selectmen office. They can potentially put that in there.
Yeah, I think it'll be until town meeting.
I said we can also speak to it directly at town
We
meeting.
sure can, yeah.
Better way to do it.
Yeah. I think I would do that,
Yeah.
and just speak at a town meeting and.
Better way.
How about you guys? How are you guys want to do it? We voted to have it a certain way, so this is the way we're gonna
Yep.
have it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, all right, great, excellent.
I thought we said the format.
Yes. Yeah, same format. Okay, there's no correspondence, there's no old business. See, any discussion? Zero, excellent. Member comments? Noel, do you have any comments?
All I would ask is about Mr. Castle being invited to attend next month's meeting,
Thank
which I
you.
raised earlier.
You sure did. I'll make sure that happens. Mike, you have any comments? No. Matt, you have any comments?
Just that I believe this will likely be my last meeting. My term expires at the end of annual town meeting, and I don't believe we're gonna have another meeting before then, even though we just got a BVA
We
today.
did.
This will likely be my last meeting. For those who do not know, I am running for one of the two seats that's open for select board. So if I do not get elected, then I will be submitting a form to be reappointed, but
Excellent.
there's a reason he's laughing.
Can't wait.
Yeah, there's a reason he's laughing. But anyways, if this is my last meeting, just wanted to say thank you to everyone. It's been as it was the first time around, it's been an educational experience, and I look forward to working with this team moving forward as well, just likely in a different capacity.
Excellent. I appreciate that. I have nothing to add except thank you all for joining. Thanks everybody for coming. It's really good to see everybody here in the audience and out there. I think it's great questions that you have. Please send them to the Board of Selectmen office or to the advisory committee directly. And we can take all your questions down and hopefully get them answered as quickly as we possibly can.
Wednesday, May 10th
Yep, May 10th.
at 6:30 or 6?
6
o'clock, Narragansett Regional Middle School Auditorium is the town meeting. Please make plans to be there. If you are not a registered voter, there is an area for people to be there that they can't vote, but they're more than welcome to speak on stuff that's being presented. And then Monday, May 15th, 11 a.m. to 7 or 8. I forget, is the annual town election. Note that is in the Narragansett High School gymnasium this year. That is a change of venue. It was previously in the middle school gymnasium. So it's in the high school gymnasium this year. So it's on the other side of the building.
You gotta take a right.
Yeah. So just be mindful of that as well.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. And I'll entertain a motion. Yes.
I just also gonna add, so that we received the finance report, this would be in the select board's packet. I'll send that out as well to the advisory committee tomorrow
For the quarter.
for the quarter.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any other discussion? I see none. Mike?
Yes.
No.
Yes.